Preface. Cassandra Vale had lived her entire life without the call of the wolfless, overlooked and confined to the safe edges of her pack's territory. She ran a modest healing clinic alongside her closest friend, Marley, content with a quiet life. Yet fate has a way of rewriting destinies. During the annual Hunting Moon Festival, a call from the pack's alpha sends Cassandra into the Forbidden Forest, rushing to tend to a critically injured patient. The moment she arrives, shock steals her breath. The injured is none other than the son of the legendary Alpha King, and the Alpha King himself is revealed as her fated mate, the man who abandoned her 5 years ago without a word. Now, the very man who once shattered her heart stands in desperate need of her. But the forest is alive with shadows, harboring enemies who would see both the Alpha King and Cassandra destroyed. Torn between old wounds and an undeniable pull she cannot resist, Cassandra must navigate a labyrinth of secrets, threats, and emotions she never thought she would feel again. With her wolf's awakening entwined with her fated bond, Cassandra discovers strengths she never knew she had, while old betrayals and hidden dangers lurk in the dark. Every heartbeat, every glance, every brush of touch becomes a battlefield of desire and distrust. Will she forgive the Alpha King and embrace the destiny that binds them, or will the shadows of their past claim her before their fated love can bloom? Chapter 1. Awakening in the Moonlight. The forest was silent, yet alive with its own rhythm. The rustle of leaves, the soft crackle of twigs beneath unseen paws, and the distant howl of a lone wolf echoing through the night. Cassandra Vale's breath came in shallow bursts, her heart drumming in her chest as if it were trying to escape. She had never been this far into the pack's territory alone. Not in 5 years. Not since the day she had been left behind. Her hands shook as she pushed open the heavy wooden door of the small clearing clinic, the lantern light flickering against the rough, hewn walls. The scent hit her immediately, coppery, sharp, and disturbingly familiar. Her eyes widened as she took in the figure lying on the cot, injured, restless, and entirely human, yet entirely not. His hair was dark, tousled, and damp with blood. His breathing was shallow enough to make her stomach twist with tension. And even in this frailty, in this moment of vulnerability, she recognized him instantly. Her mind screamed his name before her lips could form it. "Ethan," she whispered, a tremor of disbelief threading through her voice. He stirred slightly, his eyes fluttering open, and the moment they met hers, everything she had thought she'd buried, every wound, every memory of betrayal, surfaced with relentless force. The man before her wasn't just the Alpha King of the pack. He was her mate, her fated bond, the one who had disappeared from her life 5 years ago without explanation, leaving her to grow up wolfless, unclaimed, and painfully ordinary. "You're here," he rasped, pain sharpening the edges of his words. "You came." Cassandra's chest tightened. She wanted to run, to scream, to remind him of the years he had abandoned her. But at the same time, a warmth spread through her veins, her wolf stirring, pulling her closer, whispering truths she hadn't dared to acknowledge. "I had to," she said finally, her voice steady, despite the whirlwind of emotions swirling inside her. Her hands hovered over his wound, trembling as she prepared to apply the healing salve. Every movement was deliberate, every touch measured. "You're hurt badly. If I hadn't come—" "You came," he interrupted, his hand twitching, reaching instinctively for hers. The bond reacted almost immediately, tugging at them both with a force that was ancient, unyielding, and terrifying in its intensity. Cassandra could feel it deep in her chest, coiling like fire, threading through her veins and settling in her core. Her wolf was awakening, demanding recognition, demanding him. Her mind screamed for control, for restraint. This was not the time for surrender. Yet, even as she scolded herself, she could not ignore the ache in her chest, the rapid thrum of her heartbeat syncing with his. The forest outside grew quieter as the moon climbed higher, spilling pale silver light through the clinic's single window. Shadows stretched and flickered across the walls, dancing around them as if the world itself was holding its breath. Cassandra worked with steady hands, her fingers brushing against his skin in the gentlest way she could manage, but every accidental touch sent sparks through her entire body. He winced, then smiled faintly, a ghost of the man she remembered from her childhood. "You healed me once before," he murmured. "Even when I was a boy, you," his voice faltered. "I." The words broke, caught between pride and vulnerability, and Cassandra's chest tightened. She wanted to lash out, to demand answers for the years of silence. But instead, she felt the pull again, the undeniable, relentless force of their bond. Her wolf growled low in her throat, a warning, a plea, a recognition of what was theirs and theirs alone. And Cassandra, for the first time in years, understood that fate had never truly abandoned her. Outside, the forest seemed to lean closer, the trees whispering secrets of the old world, of bonds forged in blood and moonlight. And inside, as she pressed her hands against him, Cassandra realized that the night of awakening was only the beginning. For the bond had pulled them together. But it would not grant peace, not yet. The moonlight fell across their entwined hands, silver and cold, yet burning with a promise neither could deny. Destiny was waiting, and it would not be gentle. Chapter 2: Shadows of Desire. Cassandra's hands trembled as she applied the last of the healing salve, her fingers brushing lightly against Ethan's skin. Every accidental touch sent jolts through her body, a visceral reminder that the bond between them was not merely spiritual. It was physical, primal, impossible to ignore. Her wolf stirred violently within her, claws scraping at the edges of her control, urging her forward, demanding recognition, demanding him. Ethan's eyes opened fully now, dark and smoldering in the lantern light. Pain flickered there, yes, but also something deeper, longing, regret, and a desperate need that mirrored her own. "Cassandra." His voice was rough, ragged, but there was an edge of command, subtle yet undeniable. You don't get to speak yet," she interrupted sharply, stepping back slightly, forcing space between them even though her entire body screamed against it. "You've been gone 5 years, Ethan. 5 years I waited. 5 years I waited. 5 years I wondered why. Why you left without a word." Her voice cracked despite her attempt to stay composed. He flinched, his jaw tightening. "I had no choice," he admitted, the words raw and unpolished. "I thought I was protecting you. I thought leaving would keep you safe. But I was wrong. I see that now." Cassandra swallowed hard. His words should have eased her anger, should have granted her some measure of relief. But they only tangled her thoughts further. Her wolf bristled, tasting the conflict in her blood, sensing the emotional storm raging between them. She wanted to yell, to demand answers, but at the same time, a deep, aching part of her, her wolf, her fated self yearned to forgive, to trust, to lean into the connection that had never truly faded. The room felt smaller now, the lantern light casting long shadows that danced across the walls like ghosts of the past. She could hear her own heartbeat pounding in her ears, syncing rhythmically with the faint pulse beneath her hands, the pulse of her mate, alive and real. "You don't understand," she said finally, voice low, almost a whisper. "Being wolfless, being left behind, it changes you. It makes you harder, sharper, and now you're here, back in my life, and you expect me to just—" She trailed off, the words failing as emotion surged too strong to speak. Ethan rose slowly, wincing, his movements careful. His eyes never left hers, unwavering in a way that made her knees weak. "I don't expect forgiveness," he said quietly. "I expect the chance to make things right." A shiver ran down Cassandra's spine, not from cold, but from the sheer intensity radiating from him. She wanted to retreat, to remind herself of the years of abandonment, but her body betrayed her, drawn inexorably closer by the invisible threads of fate. Outside, the forest shifted, the wind sighing through the trees. It carried the scent of rain and earth, and beneath it, a subtler scent, danger. Something watched, hidden, waiting. Cassandra felt the hair on her arms rise, the primal instincts of her wolf sharpening. This was not just a reunion of past bonds. Something darker lurked beyond the clearing, something that would test the limits of her strength, courage, and trust. Ethan reached out, his hand hovering near hers, a silent question and an unspoken plea. Cassandra's chest tightened. To touch him fully, to acknowledge what they were, was to surrender to the bond, and to the storm that had been building long before either of them had realized it. Her wolf growled low in her throat, a warning and a promise intertwined. And in that sound, Cassandra understood the truth of their connection. Destiny was no gentle guide. It was relentless, consuming, and now impossibly close. She took a slow, deliberate breath, steadying herself. "If we're doing this," she whispered, voice shaking but resolute, "then it has to be on my terms. No more running, no more lies." Ethan nodded, understanding, his hand brushing hers lightly, just enough to ignite sparks that raced up her arm. "On your terms," he murmured, and the words sent shivers down her spine, a promise of both danger and desire. The shadows of the room deepened, the moonlight spilling silver over the cot, and in that ethereal glow, Cassandra realized the reunion was only the beginning. The path ahead would be treacherous, riddled with threats seen and unseen. But for the first time in years, she felt alive, and irrevocably bound. Chapter 3. Flames of Resentment. The forest beyond the clinic was alive with the low hum of nighttime. The air was heavy, thick with the scent of wet leaves and distant wood smoke. Cassandra could feel her wolf stirring beneath her skin, restless, alert, every muscle coiled for action. She had not been in the wild for years, not since the Alpha King had taken his leave and left her to fend for herself. And now, with Ethan back in her life, the stirrings were stronger than ever, a mixture of desire, resentment, and the raw, undeniable pull of fate. She stepped outside, boots crunching on the frost, hardened earth, and inhaled sharply. The night smelled of rain, moss, and something else, something acrid and dangerous. Her instincts screamed at her, and her wolf prowled, skimming the edges of her consciousness. "Something's wrong," she muttered under her breath. Ethan followed silently, his presence like a shadow at her side, commanding and steady. He didn't speak, letting her lead, yet every line of his posture suggested vigilance. Cassandra could feel him measuring, analyzing the darkness, waiting for whatever threat lay hidden in the trees. "You're tense," he said finally, voice low, almost a growl. Cassandra huffed, letting a shaky laugh escape. "You have no idea. 5 years of being abandoned, Ethan. 5 years of fighting every day just to survive. And now you're back, acting like nothing happened." Her words cracked, laced with years of buried frustration. He flinched, eyes darkening, but his hand brushed hers gently. "I know I can't undo the past, Cassandra, but I can try to be here now to protect you, to make things right." Her wolf snarled softly, restless at his nearness, confused by the simultaneous pull and push of her emotions, desire tangled with anger, grief braided with longing. She wanted to lash out, to push him away, but another part of her, the part that had always recognized him as her mate, throbbed with need. Then the wind shifted. A scent came drifting through the trees, iron and decay, subtle but unmistakable. Her wolf's hackles raised instantly. Danger. Close. Too close. Cassandra stiffened, scanning the shadows. "Ethan," she whispered, voice taut, "there's something here, someone's watching." He moved immediately, body low, silent as a stalking wolf. "Stay close," he instructed. His hand slid along her back, a touch both protective and grounding, and she felt herself respond against her will. She hated herself for it, hated the way her heart raced, the way her wolf trembled with excitement and fear, a rustle in the underbrush. Two figures emerged, masked in shadows, their movements deliberate. Cassandra's breath caught in her throat as the first one stepped closer, revealing a glint of steel in his hand. "Looks like the little wolf's grown up," the intruder sneered. "But she's still alone." Cassandra bristled, backing slightly, her wolf snapping at the unseen menace. Ethan's hands went to her shoulders, steadying her, his own wolf humming low in warning. "Not alone," he growled. "Not ever again." The intruder lunged, and instinct took over. Cassandra's senses sharpened, adrenaline flooding her veins. She shifted partially, claws extending, teeth flashing in the dim moonlight. Ethan moved as one with her, perfectly synchronized, his presence a shield and a weapon. The night erupted in a dance of shadows and motion. Ethan intercepted the first blow, spinning the assailant away with lethal precision. Cassandra lunged at the second, her claws cutting the air, narrowly missing the edge of his jacket. Each movement was instinct honed from survival, and yet tinged with hesitation she couldn't afford. As the fight drew on, Cassandra's mind raced faster than her body. The fear, the anger, the desire to survive, it all blended into a single consuming fire. And through it all, she realized something terrifying. She had missed this, missed the intensity of the pack, the sharp edge of danger, the connection with her mate that was as primal as it was undeniable. The intruders finally retreated, their bodies retreating into the shadows, leaving the forest eerily silent once more. Cassandra collapsed to her knees, chest heaving, blood pounding in her ears. Ethan crouched beside her, eyes scanning the dark beyond, then finally resting on her. "You okay?" he asked softly, brushing a damp strand of hair from her face. Cassandra nodded slowly, voice caught in her throat. I think so." Ethan's hand lingered near hers, a silent tether, grounding them both. "We need to be careful," he said, more a warning than advice. "This wasn't random. Someone's watching, waiting. They know you're here." Cassandra's wolf growled low in response, a warning echoing through her bones, and she knew, deep in the marrow of her being, that the danger was only beginning. Yet, in that moment, despite the fear, the anger, and the lingering pain of abandonment, another truth pressed down upon her. She was alive, and she was no longer alone. Ethan was here, and together they would face whatever shadows lingered in the night. Chapter 4: Temptation in the Dark. The night was heavy, draping the forest in a silken darkness that seemed to press in from all sides. Cassandra could feel it crawling along her skin, brushing past every nerve ending, making her pulse drum like a war drum in her chest. The events of the evening lingered in her mind like an unshakable phantom: the intruders, the fight, the surge of power and fear that had coursed through her veins. Ethan's presence was a constant shadow beside her, unyielding and commanding, yet careful, as if he could sense every trembling thought that rippled beneath her skin. He moved silently, each step measured, a predator in tune with the forest, and Cassandra found herself both irritated and captivated by the way he owned every inch of the night. "You're tense," he said softly, his voice a low rumble, almost blending with the whisper of leaves overhead. "I'm not tense," she replied quickly, though the tightness in her shoulders betrayed her. She hated that he could read her like a book. She hated that her wolf responded so keenly to him, shivering, restless, aching. He leaned closer, enough that she could feel the warmth radiating from him, enough that the scent of him, raw and magnetic, seeped into her senses. "Your wolf is lying," he murmured, eyes glinting in the moonlight. "It's craving something you're afraid to admit." Cassandra's breath hitched. The words were like fire on her skin, igniting something forbidden and dangerous. She wanted to push him away, wanted to remind herself that this was wrong, that he had been absent for years, that her life had been a tightrope walk of survival without his protection. And yet, she couldn't. Every instinct screamed toward him, drawing her closer, making her heart ache in ways she hadn't realized it could. A sudden snap of a twig broke her reverie, and she spun instinctively, claws extending, senses alert. Ethan's hand shot out, gripping her wrist, steadying her, grounding her. "It's nothing," he said. Though his eyes scanned the darkness, sharp, vigilant, her heart hadn't settled. She could feel the mix of fear and exhilaration twisting through her, an intoxicating combination that left her both terrified and eager. She hated how much she needed him, hated how deeply her body responded to his mere presence. And yet, the thought of resisting him made her chest ache. "Cassandra," Ethan's voice was softer now, almost tender. He leaned closer, his proximity a temptation that made her pulse leap. "You don't have to fight it. You don't have to pretend around me." Her wolf growled low, a sound of warning, frustration, and desire all at once. She tried to pull away, but his hand was firm, and his gaze locked onto hers with a force that seemed to penetrate every layer of her defenses. She could see it there, the hunger, the protective instinct, the unspoken bond that had always tethered them together. Words felt useless in the shadowed forest, drowned by the pulse of their own tension. He shifted closer, the scent of him, alpha, danger, dominance curling around her senses like smoke. "It's okay," he whispered, "to feel what you feel, to want what you want." Desire flared, unbidden and intense. Cassandra's wolf ached, her senses screaming at her to surrender, to let go, to embrace the pull she had denied for years. But another part of her, the part hardened by survival, by betrayal, by absence, resisted, trembling against the temptation. A rustle from the tree line reminded her that danger was still near, that the intruders from before could return, or something worse could be lurking. And she snapped back to the present, her claws retracted, body tensing for defense once again. Ethan mirrored her motion, though he didn't step away. His hand lingered near hers, a silent promise that he wouldn't abandon her again. And she felt it, the thread connecting them, thin but unbreakable, binding their fates together no matter how much she tried to deny it. "Stay close," he murmured, voice barely audible over the wind. "The night is not safe, but I will protect you." She swallowed hard, feeling the knot of tension in her chest unwind slightly at his words, at the grounding strength of his presence. And yet, the heat in her blood didn't abate, nor did the pull of his proximity, nor did the swirl of conflicting emotions that left her trembling in the dark. The forest seemed to shift around them, shadows lengthening and curling, hiding unseen threats, while the moonlight glinted off frost-laden branches. Cassandra knew with chilling certainty that the night was far from over, that the danger was only increasing, and that the temptation she felt, for him, for the bond they shared, for the connection that was undeniable, would become harder to resist with each passing hour. Her wolf growled low, warning her, demanding vigilance. But another part of her, a part she could no longer ignore, whispered that maybe, just maybe, this was the moment where everything changed. Where fear and desire, danger and connection, collided in a way that would bind her fate to Ethan forever. Chapter 5. Shadows of Deception. The forest was alive with whispers. Each rustle of leaves, each crack of a distant branch, made Cassandra's senses flare. Her wolf prowled beneath her skin, restless and alert, while her heart pounded in tandem with the rhythm of the night. She could feel Ethan close behind her, his presence a taut, magnetic pull that both calmed and tormented her. "Stay sharp," he murmured, voice low but edged with warning. His eyes scanned the darkness with predatory precision, every shadow a potential threat. Cassandra nodded, even as a shiver ran down her spine. The events from the previous night had left her raw emotionally and physically, and now the forest itself seemed to conspire to test her limits. A flicker of movement caught her eye, and she spun, claws out, ready to defend. Ethan's hand found hers instantly, gripping it firmly. "Relax, it's not what you think," he said, though his own muscles were coiled, ready to strike. His eyes narrowed toward a dense thicket, and Cassandra felt a prickle of unease. Someone, or something, was watching. The subtle tension between them simmered under the surface, charged and unspoken. Every time he was near, every slight brush of his fingers, every low murmur, it made her blood heat and her resolve falter. She hated that she was so easily drawn to him, yet she couldn't fight it. The pull between them was undeniable, a magnetic force that defied logic and reason. Suddenly, a rustling cry shattered the silence. A figure lunged from the shadows, fast and unpredictable. Cassandra barely had time to react before she was thrown into action. Her claws sliced through the night air, narrowly missing the attacker. Ethan moved like liquid shadow beside her, intercepting, countering, and protecting with fluid precision. Who? What? Cassandra stammered. Heart racing, Wolf screaming in alarm. Ethan's jaw tightened and his eyes blazed with warning. Not alone, they've been watching us for days. The words made her stomach twist. Someone had been tracking them, studying them, waiting for the right moment to strike. And it wasn't just any threat. There was intelligence behind it, calculation. The forest felt suddenly heavier, oppressive, as if it was conspiring with the hidden enemy. They fought side by side, movements instinctive and synchronized. Cassandra's wolf responded instinctively, sensing danger before it arrived. Every growl, every snap of a branch made her blood sing with adrenaline. But beneath the fear, a thread of something else coursed through her. A reckless exhilaration at being near Ethan, at moving together, at feeling his dominance and strength, anchoring her even as her instincts screamed to flee. After what felt like hours but was only minutes, the attacker retreated into the shadows, leaving behind nothing but broken branches and the echo of menace. Cassandra sank to her knees, trembling, heart still racing, and Ethan crouched beside her, steadying her with firm hands and protective presence. "You're okay," he murmured, brushing a lock of hair from her face. "I've got you." Her wolf whimpered, conflicted, frustrated by the mingling of fear and desire. Cassandra looked up at him, eyes wide, breath coming in shallow bursts. Why? Why am I so drawn to you, even when everything screams danger? Ethan's gaze softened slightly, but the intensity never wavered. Because it's who you are, because it's us, and because there's no running from what's bound by fate. The night held them in a tense, fragile moment. Shadows stretched and twisted around them, hiding threats and secrets, while the pull between them hummed like an electric current. Cassandra knew the danger was far from over. Whoever had sent the Watcher would strike again, and this time the stakes would be higher. But alongside the fear, a flicker of something else burned: trust, connection, and an undeniable, smoldering bond that tethered her to Ethan, no matter the cost. As the wind rustled through the trees, carrying with it hints of hidden peril, Cassandra realized one terrifying truth: surviving the night was only the beginning. The real challenge was facing the deception, the darkness, and the growing desire that both terrified and consumed her. Chapter 6: Secrets Beneath the Silver Pines. The forest at dawn was a different creature. Mist curled like ghostly fingers around the trunks, and the first silver light of morning seeped through the canopy, casting long, fractured shadows on the forest floor. Cassandra's senses, still sharpened from the previous night's ambush, picked up every subtle movement: the flutter of a bird's wings, the rustle of small creatures, the distant snap of a twig that made her spine tingle. Ethan moved silently beside her, his presence a constant anchor. He didn't speak, but his hand occasionally brushed hers, a fleeting contact that sent currents of warmth up her arm and tugged at the raw tension that still thrummed between them. Cassandra resisted the urge to look at him too often, afraid she would betray the whirlwind of emotions rising inside her: fear, fascination, and something darker, more insistent. "Something's off," Ethan finally murmured, breaking the quiet. His voice was low, measured, but the undertone of warning made her pulse quicken. Cassandra nodded, her wolf alert beneath her skin. I know," I can feel it, like the trees themselves are hiding something. Their steps carried them deeper into the forest, where the trees grew denser and the light dimmer. Every instinct screamed that someone or something was watching. They passed the silver pines, ancient trees twisted with gnarled branches, whose bark seemed to absorb light. Legends whispered in the pack spoke of spirits and dark forces lingering here. But Cassandra didn't believe in ghosts. Not yet. A sudden snap of a branch made her whip around, claws extending reflexively. Ethan was already in front of her, eyes scanning the shadows, muscles coiled like a predator ready to spring. The tension was a living thing, pressing in from all sides, and Cassandra felt it in her bones. From the corner of her eye, she saw movement, a shadow slipping between the trunks, watching, waiting. Her wolf growled low and menacing, a sound that vibrated deep within her chest. Ethan's hand found hers, gripping tightly. "They're here," he said, voice a growl. "And they're not just hunters. Someone's orchestrating this." Cassandra's mind raced. She had thought the danger from last night was random, a simple ambush, but now it was clear someone had planned, studied, and waited for the perfect moment to strike. And their target was not just her, it was Ethan, too, and the fragile balance of power in the pack. As they advanced, they came across a clearing where the ground was disturbed, evidence of something, or someone moving through the undergrowth. Ethan knelt, inspecting the marks, and Cassandra leaned closer. "Footprints," she whispered, recognizing the telltale signs. "Not human." Ethan's eyes narrowed. "Lichen, but not from our pack. They've been here recently, moving carefully, leaving little trace." His jaw tightened. "They're testing us." The thought sent a chill down her spine. Who would dare challenge the Blood Moon territory? And why? Cassandra's pulse pounded, but beneath it, a different beat thrummed. Her growing awareness that she could not run from Ethan, from this bond, from what fate had woven between them. A sudden rustle behind them made them spin. Two figures emerged, cloaked in shadows, eyes glinting with intent. Cassandra felt her wolf rise, instincts screaming, muscles tensing. Ethan stepped in front of her, protective and commanding, his aura radiating dominance. The figures circled them, cautious but deliberate. "We've been waiting for you," one hissed, voice like dry leaves scraping against bark. Cassandra's stomach clenched. Danger had teeth, but so did curiosity and a hunger for truth. Ethan's grip on her hand tightened. "Stay close. Don't trust their words." Cassandra swallowed, heart racing, mind spinning with questions. Who were these intruders? What did they want? And why did the thrill of the unknown pulse through her veins, mingling with fear and something dangerously close to desire? The forest seemed to hold its breath, the silver pines whispering secrets of power and shadow. Cassandra knew that this encounter would change everything. Secrets would be revealed, alliances tested, and she would be forced to confront not just the danger outside, but the storm inside her own heart. As the intruders advanced, Ethan's gaze never left hers, a silent promise burning in his eyes. They would face this together, no matter the cost. And in that unspoken vow, Cassandra felt the spark of something deeper, a connection that was both terrifying and irresistible, binding her to him more firmly than the shadows that surrounded them. Chapter 7. Heartbeats in the Dark. Night fell over the silver pines with a weight that pressed down on the world like a living thing. The canopy above was dense, allowing only fragments of moonlight to pierce through, silver shards illuminating the mist that clung to the undergrowth. Every sound, the snap of a twig, the distant hoot of an owl, the whisper of wind through the leaves, seemed amplified, a warning that danger was never far. Cassandra moved cautiously beside Ethan, each step measured, muscles coiled and ready. Her wolf stirred beneath her skin, sensing every vibration, every scent that brushed past them. The intruders from the clearing had vanished as mysteriously as they appeared, leaving behind only traces and questions that gnawed at her mind. They didn't attack, she whispered, her voice trembling slightly despite the steady rhythm of her wolf heart. Why didn't they? Ethan's jaw was tight, his amber eyes scanning the shadows. Because they're testing us, seeing what we can handle, gauging our strength. Whoever they are, they know the terrain, and they're patient, deadly patient. Cassandra shivered, not entirely from the cold. There was a thrill in the tension, a raw pull toward danger and the man at her side. Ethan's presence was a shield and a spark, protective, commanding, and impossibly close. Her pulse quickened when his hand brushed hers, fingers grazing in that fleeting way that made her breath catch. They reached a small clearing where the fog was thicker, swirling like silver smoke around the gnarled roots of the ancient pines. Ethan crouched, sniffing the air, alert to every scent. Cassandra felt her wolf tense, drawn toward something hidden. There's a trail, Ethan murmured, voice low. Not just of them, something else. Cassandra leaned closer, eyes narrowing. The ground was disturbed, but the patterns were unfamiliar, tracks too large for humans, too deliberate for wild animals. A wolf, she breathed, but different, powerful, and cautious. Ethan's gaze met hers, sharp and calculating. Exactly, and they're close. The forest seemed to contract around them, shadows deepening, twisting in unnatural ways. Every instinct screamed that they were being watched, and Cassandra's stomach knotted with a mixture of fear and anticipation. She had faced danger before, but never like this, never with the pulse of desire and adrenaline lacing every heartbeat, twisting her emotions into knots she didn't want to unravel. A rustle behind them made them spin simultaneously. Two figures emerged from the fog, moving with a grace that was almost predatory. Their eyes glinted in the fragmented moonlight, and Cassandra's wolf growled, a low, threatening rumble that vibrated through her chest. You shouldn't be here, Ethan warned, stepping in front of her. His stance radiated authority, a barrier and a challenge all at once. The taller figure tilted their head, lips curving into a faint smile. And yet, here you are. The voice was smooth, hypnotic, carrying a subtle menace that made Cassandra's skin prickle. The shorter figure, eyes glinting like polished onyx, moved closer, hands relaxed but ready. We've been watching, waiting for the right moment. Cassandra's heart raced, fear and fascination entwined in a dangerous dance. Her instincts screamed to run, to flee, yet part of her ached with the need to understand, to confront, to grasp the edge of danger and see what it revealed about her and about Ethan. Ethan's hand found hers, gripping firmly. Stay with me, he said, voice low, resonant. Whatever they are, we face this together. The intruders circled, their movements fluid, calculated. Cassandra could feel the tension crackling between them, a silent storm of intent. Every nerve in her body was alight, senses attuned to the subtle shifts of the forest and the rhythm of Ethan's presence beside her. One of them stepped closer, voice silky and dangerous. You've grown strong, Ethan King. But strength alone won't protect her, or you. Ethan's amber eyes flared, muscles coiling as he let out a low growl. I don't need your warnings. Leave now, or face the consequences. The shadowed figures paused, studying them, and Cassandra realized with a jolt that this was more than a threat. It was a test of control, of dominance, of the bond that tethered them together. She felt Ethan's energy hum through her, a steady, grounding force, and it both terrified and exhilarated her. Her wolf stirred beneath her skin, sensing every heartbeat, every breath, every intention. The air was thick with tension, and Cassandra knew that this encounter would shape everything, her future, Ethan's, and the fragile balance of power in the pack. A sudden shift in the mist drew her attention. Movement quick, deliberate, and silent darted among the trees. Cassandra's heart leapt, and instinctively she stepped closer to Ethan, seeking the unspoken protection he offered. The taller intruder's lips curved into a sharp grin. It begins tonight, and by dawn everything will change. Cassandra swallowed hard, pulse hammering danger, desire, and the unknown converged in the moonlit forest. And in that charged silence, she realized that nothing would ever be the same. Not the pack, not the intruders, and certainly not the wild, tangled bond between her and Ethan. The night closed around them like a velvet shroud, and Cassandra's wolf whispered a single, unrelenting truth. Survival depended on trust, strength, and the courage to confront both the darkness outside and the storm burning within her heart. Chapter 8: Shadows of the Past. The fog clung stubbornly to the forest floor, winding around twisted roots and moss, covered stones like pale fingers reaching for the living. Cassandra's senses were on high alert, every rustle and sigh of wind setting her wolf on edge. Ethan walked beside her, a silent pillar of strength, amber eyes scanning the darkness with the precision of a predator who had hunted in these woods for decades. The earlier encounter had left a lingering tension, one that throbbed in her chest with every heartbeat. She couldn't shake the memory of the intruder's eyes, the predatory glint, the almost mocking confidence, and the unspoken challenge that hung between them like a heavy cloud. Her body hummed with a mixture of fear and exhilaration, and she realized just how deeply intertwined her instincts had become with Ethan's presence. "We need to move faster," Ethan murmured, breaking the silence. His voice was low, steady, and entirely commanding. "They're testing more than our strength. They're probing our pasts, finding weaknesses," Cassandra's brow furrowed. "Past? You mean you?" The hesitation in her voice betrayed the question she'd been holding back. Ethan's jaw tightened, his gaze narrowing at the shadowed tree line. "Yes, my past. And yours too, whether you realize it or not. You've been hiding pieces of yourself, Cassandra, and tonight they'll be forced into the open." Her heart thudded painfully against her ribs, a rhythmic warning she could not ignore. What secrets did Ethan carry, and how could she be expected to face them while grappling with the threat looming just beyond the fog? A sudden noise, soft, deliberate, a footstep on damp leaves, made them both freeze. Ethan's hand shot out, gripping hers tightly, grounding her. "Stay behind me," he whispered, voice a low growl that vibrated through the air between them. Cassandra's wolf snarled, muscles tensing beneath her skin. She wanted to leap into the shadows to confront whatever was approaching, but the rational part of her shivering, trembling, yet unyielding, heeded Ethan's warning. The figure emerged, cloaked in black, face obscured, but eyes gleaming with intent. "Ethan King," the voice was smooth, almost silk, yet dripping with malice. "And the healer, Cassandra Keller. How convenient." Ethan's body shifted, coiling like a spring, protective and unyielding. "Who are you? What do you want?" His growl carried authority, danger, and a promise that he would not allow harm to come to her. The intruder tilted their head, a faint smile playing on lips that promised pain and revelation in equal measure. "We're here to remind you of what you've both lost and what's at stake. You can't outrun the past, no matter how far you run." Cassandra's stomach nodded. Every word was a key turning in a lock she wasn't ready to open, memories she had buried, truths she had avoided. They pressed against the fragile walls of her mind, and she felt her control slipping. Ethan noticed instantly, his hand tightening over hers, anchoring her in the moment. "They've done enough," Ethan said, voice firm, almost harsh. "We face this together, whatever it is." The intruder's laugh was soft, chilling, and echoing through the mist. "Together, yes, but are you prepared for what the shadows hold? The choices made in secrecy. The bonds broken, the lives torn apart. Everything you think you know will be challenged." Cassandra swallowed hard. She wanted to speak, to protest, but the weight of his presence beside her, steady, unyielding, and undeniably magnetic, kept her silent. Her wolf shifted, sensing Ethan's unease, the tension in his muscles, a heartbeat that was both warning and comfort. Suddenly, another figure stepped forward, and Cassandra's breath caught. Recognition hit her like a punch to the chest. The second intruder wasn't a stranger. It was someone from Ethan's past, someone whose name alone had been whispered in warning, whose presence now threatened to unravel the fragile trust she had begun to place in him. Cassandra. Ethan's voice was taut with a mix of anger and something darker, something raw. This is the part I never wanted you to see. Her pulse raced, not from fear alone, but from the electric tension crackling in the space between them. Secrets hovered like knives over their heads, waiting for a single misstep to cut deep. She knew instinctively that whatever unfolded here would bind them together, or tear them apart forever. The mist thickened, swallowing the forest in a silver haze. Cassandra felt every nerve in her body ignite. Fear, desire, determination, and an undeniable pull toward Ethan. Every heartbeat screamed that this night would change everything. "Ethan," she whispered, voice trembling but fierce, "whatever happens, we face it together." His eyes softened, a flicker of vulnerability beneath the hard alpha exterior. Together, he agreed, and in that word, Cassandra felt a thread of hope tangled with the storm around them, fragile yet unbroken. The intruders moved closer, shadows weaving between the trees, and Cassandra braced herself. The past, the secrets, the threats, all converged under the cold silver gaze of the moon. And in that charged, impossible moment, she realized one truth with crystal clarity. Survival wasn't just about strength or skill. It was about trust, courage, and the willingness to face the darkness together. Chapter 9. The Predator's Game. The forest was alive with sound, the soft rustle of leaves, the distant call of an owl, and the faint snap of twigs underfoot. Every noise was amplified in the cold night, every shadow a potential threat. Cassandra felt her pulse quicken, her wolf stretching and straining beneath her skin, attuned to the subtle rhythms of danger that her human mind could barely comprehend. Ethan led the way, silent, precise, his movements a dance of controlled power. Cassandra followed, her hand barely brushing his, feeling the warmth and strength radiating from him. They were alone in the woods, or so they thought, but the tension in the air told them otherwise. "They've set traps," Ethan murmured, scanning the darkness. His amber eyes flickered over the undergrowth, noticing the slightest irregularity, a bent branch, a disturbed patch of earth, the faint glint of metal hidden beneath leaves. "They want to test us, to see if we're predictable." Cassandra's stomach tightened. She had expected threats before, but the reality of being hunted in her own territory sent icy fingers crawling up her spine. She shifted her weight, muscles coiling like springs, senses on high alert. Every leaf, every shadow seemed to breathe with intent. A sudden rustling to her left made her lunge instinctively, wolf instinct screaming. She caught a glimpse of a figure, cloaked in black, moving with the silent precision of a predator. Ethan was beside her in an instant, blocking her path with a fluid, controlled motion. "They're fast," he said, voice low, almost a growl. "And they know the terrain. Stay close to me." Cassandra's wolf snarled, a deep vibration in her chest, responding to the danger, but her mind fought to maintain composure. "Why are they doing this?" she asked, breath coming in shallow bursts. "What do they want?" Ethan's jaw tightened, eyes narrowing. "To weaken us, to break our focus, to remind us that even the strongest can fall." His hand brushed hers briefly, a fleeting touch that grounded her amidst the chaos. The intruders didn't give them time to breathe. From the shadows, a series of mechanical whirs and clicks erupted. Traps springing to life, nets snapping from hidden mechanisms, and glowing tripwires tracing the underbrush. Cassandra barely managed to duck under a net, her heartbeat hammering in her ears. Ethan moved with lethal grace, disarming traps, deflecting attacks, and positioning her where she could remain safe yet alert. His protective instinct radiated through every motion, a magnetic pull that made her chest ache in ways she had never expected. "This isn't just about physical strength," Ethan warned, his gaze locking with hers. "They're playing with our minds too. Don't let them get inside your head." Cassandra swallowed hard, nodding. She felt the truth in his words. The intruders weren't just testing their reflexes. They were probing their fears, their insecurities, the very trust that had begun to grow between them. Every misstep could unravel everything they had fought to build. A shadow darted across a clearing ahead. Cassandra froze, her wolf instinct screaming that this was no ordinary opponent. The figure moved with unnatural fluidity, eyes glowing faintly under the moonlight. Cassandra's breath caught. Recognition flared. This was someone from Ethan's past, someone whose presence alone could unearth the secrets he had fought to keep hidden. "You knew this would happen," Cassandra whispered, her voice tight with tension. "You didn't tell me everything, did you?" Ethan's expression hardened, jaw set, eyes burning with a mixture of regret and determination. "Some truths are weapons," he said, voice low. "And tonight, we need every weapon we have." The intruder stepped into the clearing fully, revealing a grin that was both infuriating and terrifying. "Welcome to the game," they said. "Every choice you make, every bond you test tonight, it all ends with a consequence." Cassandra's pulse raced, her wolf growling beneath the surface, hungry for the confrontation. She felt the adrenaline, the fear, and an undeniable thrill coursing through her veins. She was alive in a way she had never been before, vulnerable, powerful, and tethered to Ethan by a thread of shared danger. Ethan's hand found hers again, grounding her. "Stay with me," he commanded softly. "We face this together, or we don't face it at all." Cassandra nodded, teeth clenched, wolf coiling beneath her skin, ready to leap at the first sign of attack. The forest held its breath, and so did they, poised at the edge of a deadly game where every step, every heartbeat, and every choice would determine who survived and who was broken. And as the first trap snapped inches from Cassandra's foot, she realized one undeniable truth. The night had only just begun, and nothing would ever be the same. Chapter 10: Echoes of Desire. The forest had grown darker, shadows stretching like fingers across the moss-covered ground, twisting the familiar paths into a maze of uncertainty. Cassandra's senses were heightened, each rustle, snap, and whisper magnified in the stillness of the night. Her pulse pounded in her ears, echoing like a drumbeat in the silent woods. Every instinct screamed alert, every nerve was alight with tension. Ethan moved beside her, silent, precise, a predator in his own right. The faint moonlight glinted off his dark hair, casting sharp angles on his face that made him seem almost otherworldly. Cassandra's wolf stirred at the proximity, the primal pull between them a low hum beneath her consciousness. She tried to focus, tried to push the pull aside, but it throbbed persistently, tethering her to him in a way she could not resist. "There's a pattern," Ethan whispered, his voice slicing through the quiet like a blade. "They're testing our coordination, our ability to anticipate each other." His amber eyes scanned the tree line, catching the glint of hidden tripwires and subtle disturbances in the underbrush. Cassandra's hand brushed his almost by accident, but the contact sent a jolt through her body, igniting a warmth that had nothing to do with fear. I don't know if I can." "You can," he interrupted firmly. Yet there was a softness in his tone that made her shiver. "You've survived this long. You've learned quickly. Trust your instincts and trust me." Her wolf growled low in agreement, coiling beneath her skin, while her human heart thudded painfully against her ribs. Trust. The word carried weight, layers of unspoken meaning. She had learned to trust few in her life, but with Ethan, the lines between fear, desire, and loyalty blurred dangerously. A sudden movement caught their attention, a shadow darting across the clearing. Cassandra spun instinctively, heart leaping, only to find a small pack of rogue wolves emerging from the trees, eyes glinting with malice. Their growls were low, controlled, predatory, and they circled like sharks smelling blood. Ethan stepped forward, his form rigid, commanding. "Stay behind me," he ordered. though his hand brushed hers in a fleeting but grounding touch. Cassandra nodded, muscles coiled, eyes never leaving the intruders. The first wolf lunged, teeth bared, eyes locked on Ethan. Cassandra's wolf surged, instincts overriding hesitation, and she dove into action beside him. Together, they moved as one, Ethan's strikes precise and lethal, her own attacks guided by an uncanny intuition she had never known she possessed. The dance of survival was brutal, exhilarating, and terrifying all at once. Between blows, between breaths, Cassandra caught glimpses of Ethan's face, taut with focus, lips parted slightly, eyes alight with something raw and unspoken. The adrenaline, the danger, and the nearness of him made her heart race in ways she had never anticipated. Each touch, each brush of his arm against hers, each shared glance amidst the chaos sent waves of heat through her body. The pack of intruders finally retreated, leaving the clearing littered with disturbed leaves and broken branches. Cassandra collapsed onto a fallen log, chest heaving, wolf trembling beneath her skin. Ethan was beside her in an instant, concern and something deeper etched into his features. "You're pushing yourself too hard," he murmured, brushing a strand of hair from her face. His thumb lingered against her cheek, and Cassandra felt herself leaning into the touch, though a part of her fought to pull away. "I'm fine," she said, voice shaky, trying to mask the fire that had been ignited within her. "It's just the night. It's different now." "It's not just the night," Ethan said softly, eyes darkening with intensity. "It's us, and you need to understand. This," he gestured subtly to the forest, "the danger, the shared heartbeat of the moment, it's not going to make itself easier, but we can face it, together." Cassandra's breath hitched, her wolf nuzzling at the primal pull she felt toward him. "Together," she repeated, the word both a promise and a question, a challenge and an invitation. As they walked back toward the safer paths, every shadow seemed alive, every breeze whispered secrets, and every brush of his hand reminded her that desire and danger were intricately intertwined. In the forest of uncertainty, they had found a rhythm, a fragile, electric harmony where fear, trust, and longing collided. And deep down, Cassandra realized that the night's trials were only the beginning. For every trap they avoided, every threat they survived, the bond between them deepened, pulsing with something untamed, something dangerous and undeniably hers and his. Chapter 11. Secrets Beneath the Canopy. The early morning mist clung to the forest floor like a pale blanket, curling around the roots of ancient trees and muffling the sounds of the awakening woods. Cassandra moved carefully, each step measured, her senses stretched taut as if anticipating the next threat. Even after surviving the rogue wolves, a shiver ran down her spine, not from fear, but from the lingering touch of Ethan, from the heat that refused to leave her skin. Ethan walked beside her, tall and silent, his gaze scanning the tree line with an intensity that made her pulse quicken. There was a quiet authority in the way he moved, a silent claim over the world around him, and a subtle but undeniable pull toward her. Cassandra's wolf stirred restlessly, a low hum of awareness that she could neither deny nor ignore. "We're close," Ethan murmured, voice barely above a whisper. He stopped suddenly, hand raised in a silent command for her to freeze. His eyes flicked to a patch of disturbed earth ahead. "Something's been here recently." Cassandra leaned forward slightly, peering through the haze. The faintest tracks marred the soft soil, too deliberate to be ordinary wildlife. Her stomach knotted, a mix of unease and anticipation coiling tight within her. "Predators?" she asked. Though her voice carried an edge of caution, Ethan shook his head. "Not entirely. This feels more calculated, like someone or something is marking territory, testing boundaries." He exhaled slowly, jaw tight. "We need to be careful." As they proceeded, the forest seemed to close around them, branches brushing against their shoulders, leaves whispering secrets they couldn't quite hear. Every rustle, every shadow drew Cassandra's attention, every footstep echoing the rhythm of her racing heart. And then she caught a glimpse of something half hidden in the undergrowth, a faint glimmer of silver, almost like eyes reflecting the morning light. Ethan tensed beside her, his hand brushing against hers, grounding her even as it ignited a fire she could not suppress. "Stay close," he said, voice low, almost intimate. The simple directive, layered with unspoken meaning, sent a ripple through her chest. They moved forward, carefully navigating the twisted roots and uneven ground until they reached a small clearing. The air was different here, thicker, heavier, almost humming with energy. In the center lay a circle of stones, etched with symbols that pulsed faintly, as if alive. Cassandra's breath caught. "What is this?" she whispered, crouching slightly, fingertips grazing the smooth surface of one of the stones. A sudden jolt ran through her hand, a spark of something ancient and powerful, and she pulled back instinctively. Her wolf growled low, instinctive, protective, but also intrigued. Ethan stepped closer, his presence a reassuring wall at her side. "These markings, they're old," he said, tracing the symbols with a careful finger. "Not just old, ancient. There's a power here, hidden, dormant, but not for long." His eyes flicked to hers, amber burning with a strange intensity. "And someone knows about it." Cassandra swallowed hard. "Simone." "Who?" Ethan's jaw tightened. "That's what we need to find out. Whoever left these, they're watching, waiting, planning, and if we're not careful." His words trailed off, but the implication was clear. Danger lingered, close and patient. A sudden crack of a branch made them both spin. Shadows shifted at the edge of the clearing, figures barely visible among the trees. Cassandra's heart thumped in her chest, her wolf bristling, but she didn't move away from Ethan. Instead, she stepped closer, drawn to him, tethered by a pull she could not name. The figures emerged, revealing themselves to be scouts from a neighboring pack. Their leader, a wiry wolf with eyes like storm clouds, stepped forward, bowing his head slightly in a gesture that was both respectful and wary. "Alpha Ethan," he said, voice cautious. "We mean no harm, but the territory, it is stirring. Forces you may not be ready for are awakening." Ethan's gaze hardened, amber eyes sharp, analyzing, calculating. "I've handled threats before," he said slowly, but there was a tension in his shoulders that betrayed the weight of his concern. "What exactly is awakening?" The scout hesitated, glancing nervously at the forest around them, then finally spoke. "The old magic, the bond that ties the lost wolves to their true mates. There are rumors, whispers, that someone is trying to manipulate it, to draw out power that should remain hidden." Cassandra felt her stomach twist. Power, manipulation, wolves bound by destiny. Her pulse quickened, every nerve alert. She glanced at Ethan, whose jaw had tightened, the tension radiating from him almost like a physical force. "We need to leave," he said finally, voice low, edged with urgency. Now, as they turned to retrace their steps through the forest, Cassandra's mind was a whirlwind of fear, desire, and questions. The danger lurking in the shadows was real, but so was the magnetic pull between them, the unspoken tension that coiled like smoke around their every movement. Every glance, every accidental brush of hands, every synchronized step drew them closer, and yet the forest seemed determined to test them, to push them to the edge of instinct and reason. And deep in the underbrush, eyes glimmered, watching, calculating, waiting for the moment when the lost Luna and the Alpha King would step too far. The forest held its breath. Cassandra and Ethan did too. Chapter 12. Threads of Betrayal. The forest seemed to exhale as Cassandra and Ethan made their way back toward the edge of the clearing, the soft morning light struggling to penetrate the thick canopy above. Every sound, the distant drip of water from leaves, the snap of a twig underfoot, was amplified in her mind. Her wolf was restless, ears swiveling to catch even the faintest rustle. She could feel Ethan beside her, each step deliberate, his presence grounding her yet simultaneously igniting an uncontainable tension she couldn't name. "Cassandra," Ethan murmured. voice low and deliberate. "I need you to stay alert. Do not let your guard down for a second. There's more at play here than you realize." His amber eyes scanned the shadows, flicking constantly, calculating. The authority in his tone left no room for argument. She nodded, though the knot of unease twisting her stomach grew tighter. As they moved deeper into the forest, Cassandra's mind raced. The scout's warning about ancient magic and lost bonds echoed in her thoughts. Manipulation, power. How much of this involved her? And why did her pulse beat so fast whenever she glanced at Ethan? She hated herself for it, hated the way her body reacted to his nearness, to the unspoken tension coiling between them like a living thing. Yet her wolf felt it too, a restlessness that mirrored the human part of her, the part she tried to suppress. A sudden rustle made her freeze. Ethan's hand shot out instinctively, brushing against her back, a grounding touch that sent shivers down her spine. "Quiet," he whispered. His voice was calm, yet edged with danger. "They're close." From the shadows emerged two figures, young wolves with wary expressions, eyes darting between Cassandra and Ethan. Ethan stepped slightly in front of her, his jaw tightening, his body a protective barrier. "Who are you?" he demanded, the low rumble in his voice vibrating through the clearing. One of the wolves stepped forward cautiously. "We're scouts, from the Iron Claw Pack. We were sent to warn you. There are forces moving against the bloodlines. Magic that shouldn't be touched. People who want to disrupt the mate bonds, to control wolves through the oldest power there is." Cassandra swallowed hard, the weight of the words pressing down on her. Mate bonds, lost wolves, ancient power. Her heart thudded painfully against her ribcage, a mixture of fear and the undeniable pull toward Ethan. She looked at him, but he remained stoic, face unreadable, though his hand never left her back, a tether to reality amidst the chaos. "And why should we trust you?" Ethan's question was sharp, controlled, but Cassandra noticed the flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but enough to tell her that even the Alpha King could be caught off guard. The scout glanced nervously at the trees surrounding them, then back at Ethan. "Because if we don't, the consequences will be catastrophic. Wolves will be torn apart from their true mates, alliances shattered, and there are rumors that someone has discovered a way to manipulate the lost bonds to bind wolves against their will. Your mate bond, Alpha Ethan, it could be the key." Cassandra's breath hitched. Her pulse raced, the wolf within her stirring with a mix of fear and anticipation. Her hand instinctively found Ethan's, gripping it tightly, seeking reassurance even as her pulse hammered with an entirely different kind of tension. Ethan's gaze darkened, amber eyes flickering with a storm Cassandra could not decipher. "So it's about control," he muttered, almost to himself. Then he looked at her, sharp and intense. "And you're part of this, aren't you?" Her stomach twisted. "I don't know," she admitted honestly, though her voice wavered. Every fiber of her being screamed at her that there was a connection, something ancient and binding, though she had yet to understand its scope. The scouts exchanged glances. "We don't have much time. Whoever is orchestrating this, they're moving fast. You need to protect her, Alpha. And she needs to understand. Her power is not hers alone." Ethan's jaw tightened, and he squeezed Cassandra's hand before releasing it reluctantly. "Then we move now." His words were decisive, but his gaze lingered on her longer than necessary. A silent promise, a warning, a connection they both knew could not be denied. As they advanced through the forest, Cassandra's senses were on high alert. Every shadow seemed to shift. Every sound carried hidden meaning. Her heart raced, caught between fear, desire, and the overwhelming pull toward Ethan. She could feel her wolf awakening, stretching, testing boundaries she had yet to explore. They reached a small rise overlooking a valley, shrouded in mist. Cassandra's breath caught at the sight. Wolves, moving with purpose, figures cloaked in shadows, eyes gleaming with hidden intent. The scouts had been truthful. Danger was real, imminent, and terrifyingly close. Ethan's hand found hers again, gripping tightly. "Whatever happens next," he said, voice low and edged with determination, "we face it together." And as Cassandra met his gaze, amber meeting blue-gray, she felt the thread of something unbreakable, something that had been waiting for this very moment. Fear, desire, and destiny intertwined as one, pulling her forward into a storm that promised to change everything. Deep in the shadows, unseen eyes watched. Every step, every heartbeat, every whispered promise was being catalogued. Cassandra's awakening was just the beginning, and the game was only starting. Chapter 13, Echoes of the Past. The mist clung to Cassandra's skin like a ghost, cold and damp, as she followed Ethan down the winding path through the forest. Every step was heavy, weighted with the tension of what lay ahead. Her mind raced, thoughts spinning between fear and anticipation, her wolf twitching beneath her skin, urging her forward yet whispering caution. "Ethan," she whispered, almost afraid to break the silence. "Who? Who are we really up against?" Ethan's jaw tightened, his amber eyes scanning the fog-shrouded trees. "Not just anyone," he murmured. "They're organized, experienced, and they know how to exploit weakness. Wolves, magic, bonds. Nothing is off limits. And Cassandra, they're after you." Her stomach knotted. Her pulse was erratic, heart pounding with both terror and something else she refused to name. "Me? But why?" He stopped, turning to her, his expression hard but not unkind. "Because your bond with me. It's more than just fate, it's power, and some would kill to control it." Cassandra's breath hitched, her wolf growling low in her chest. The weight of Ethan's words pressed down on her. Power, bond, control. Everything about their connection had always felt complicated, dangerous, irresistible. And now she understood that danger had been lurking far beyond her comprehension. They reached a clearing where the morning sun struggled to break through the thick canopy. There, a circle of stones lay half buried in moss and roots, their surfaces etched with runes faintly glowing with a silver light. Cassandra froze, recognition stirring deep within her memory. She had seen markings like these before, in dreams she could barely remember, whispers of her past she had long buried. "This place," she whispered, stepping closer, fingers grazing the cold stone. A shiver ran down her spine. "I've seen it in dreams, but I don't remember why." Ethan knelt beside her, his hand brushing hers, grounding her as he traced the carvings with his own fingers. "These are old, very old. They mark Bond's power. The threads between wolves that are stronger than blood. You, Cassandra, you are connected to something ancient. Something they want to manipulate." Her breath caught. "Manipulate me?" "Yes," he said, his voice low but unwavering. "And if they succeed, they could rewrite bonds, break fates, even destroy the very connection between wolves and their mates. Your bond with me, it's not just about us. It's bigger than anything either of us can imagine." Cassandra's wolf stirred violently beneath her skin, her instincts screaming that danger was close, that she needed to protect herself, that she needed him. The pull toward Ethan was undeniable, but fear, confusion, and something darker gnawed at the edges of her mind. "Why didn't anyone tell me?" Ethan's gaze softened, just for a moment. "Because the truth would have made you a target sooner. And now that they've found the trail, we have to move fast." He stood, eyes narrowing as his senses flared. "We can't stay here." As they stepped away from the stone circle, a sudden rustling from the trees made Cassandra spin. Shadows moved, indistinct but purposeful, shapes that flickered in and out of the fog. Her wolf growled low and warning, muscles coiled for a fight she wasn't sure she was ready for. Ethan's hand found hers again, firm and protective. "Stay close," he commanded, voice tight. Whatever comes, we face it together. The shadows shifted closer, eyes gleaming with intent, teeth bared in predatory anticipation. Cassandra's heart raced, a storm of fear, desire, and adrenaline surging through her veins. She felt Ethan's strength beside her, grounding and intoxicating all at once, yet the tension between them was a living thing, raw, urgent, and impossible to ignore. Then, from the mist, a figure stepped forward, tall, cloaked in black, aura radiating power. Cassandra's stomach dropped. Recognition sparked in her chest like lightning. She knew that presence. She had seen it before in dreams, in whispers. Cassandra Keller, the figure said, voice smooth, almost teasing. We've been waiting for you. Her wolf snarled, ears pinned as fear and defiance warred inside her. Ethan's hand tightened around hers, and she felt a current of energy, something deeper than instinct, flowing between them. Who are you? Ethan demanded. Stepping in front of her, a shield of raw power. The figure smiled, a thin, dangerous curve. I am the one who will show you the truth of your bond and the cost of ignoring it. Cassandra's chest tightened. The fog seemed to thicken, the forest holding its breath. Danger, secrets, power, desire, all converging on this one moment. Her pulse pounded in her ears as the threads of her past, present, and future tangled together, and she realized there was no turning back. Her wolf howled, a sound of warning and anticipation, as the figure stepped closer, shadows twisting with unnatural grace. Cassandra's heart hammered against her ribs, every nerve alive with tension, and Ethan's amber eyes locked onto hers, a silent promise that whatever came, they would face it together. But deep in the darkness, unseen eyes watched. Every heartbeat, every step, every whispered breath was catalogued. Cassandra's awakening had begun, and the echoes of her past were ready to catch up with her. Chapter 14: Shadows of Deception. The forest seemed to close in around Cassandra and Ethan, mist curling like living fingers around gnarled tree trunks, carrying whispers that made her skin prickle. Every sound, the snap of a twig, the rustle of leaves, was amplified, echoing the tension that thrummed in her chest. Her wolf stirred, restless, sensing the presence of others lurking just beyond sight. Ethan's hand gripped hers tighter as they moved through the undergrowth. His body radiated strength and control, a tether that kept her grounded even as fear and anticipation warred inside her. "Stay close," he murmured, eyes scanning every shadow. "They're watching, and they know more than we do." Cassandra swallowed hard, her pulse quickening. Who are they, Ethan? The figure from the clearing, what do they want with me? He hesitated, jaw tight. Power, control, secrets buried long before either of us were born. And you, Cassandra, are tied to all of it. That bond of yours, our bond, it's more than fated connection, it's a key they'll do anything to possess. Her stomach tightened. A key? Possess me? Yes, Ethan said, voice low and serious. They're not after just a mate. They're after the threads that connect wolves like us, the energy that binds mates, the magic that shapes packs. If they manipulate it, the consequences could be catastrophic. Cassandra's wolf growled, a low, warning rumble beneath her skin. She wanted to flee, to hide, yet some part of her surged forward, drawn by the danger and by Ethan's presence. Her heart ached with conflicting emotions, fear, desire, and a strange thrill she couldn't name. A sudden movement to their left made them both freeze. From the shadows stepped two figures, cloaked in darkness, faces obscured by hoods. Cassandra's pulse raced. She could feel the power emanating from them, cold, calculating, and dangerous. "You are far from safe, Cassandra Keller," one of them said, voice smooth, almost hypnotic. "And yet, you walk willingly into our reach. Fascinating." Ethan's body tensed. "Step back," he growled, his wolf manifesting as a ripple of energy around him, muscles coiled, senses flaring. We don't want to fight, but we won't hesitate to defend her." The second figure tilted their head, studying Cassandra with an intensity that made her shiver. "Defend her, or yourself. Your strength is admirable, but the threads of fate are not so easily untangled. She is special. The bond she carries. It could shift everything." Cassandra's chest tightened. She didn't fully understand yet. A flicker of recognition stirred in her memory, fragments of dreams, visions she had long buried. She felt the pull, the tug of something ancient threading through her veins, entwining with her very being. Ethan's eyes never left the figures. "Tell me who you are. What do you want?" The first figure smiled, a thin, cruel curl. "Names are irrelevant. We are the shadow of what has always existed, the guardians and manipulators of power, long forgotten. And she," they gestured toward Cassandra with a gloved hand, "is the one who can awaken what has been dormant for centuries." Cassandra felt her wolf surge, claws itching, instincts screaming. "Awaken? What?" "Your power," the second figure whispered, stepping closer. "The magic that flows through your bond, the energy that could shape pacts, alliances, fates. But it is dangerous, and it is not yours alone to command." Ethan stepped protectively in front of her. "Then we'll learn it together. And if you touch her, if you even think to harm her, I swear you'll regret it." His voice was steady, dangerous, but beneath it was something deeper, a promise, a tether, a shared heartbeat that Cassandra felt in every nerve. The figures exchanged a glance and retreated into the mist, leaving only the lingering chill of their presence. Cassandra's legs shook, adrenaline and fear coiling like serpents through her body. Her wolf growled low, pressing against her instincts to strike, to flee, to claim control. Are they gone?" she whispered. Ethan nodded slowly. "For now, but this isn't over, not even close. They're testing us, watching us, waiting for the moment to strike. And they know more than we do about your power, about our bond." Cassandra's mind swirled with questions. Her heart beat erratically, caught between fear and an unfamiliar exhilaration. "Power bond, threads. I don't understand. How am I supposed to face something I can't even name?" "You'll learn," Ethan said, brushing a strand of damp hair from her face. His thumb lingered against her cheek, grounding her. "And I'll be with you every step of the way. No one touches you, not while I'm here." Cassandra's wolf stirred, a low growl resonating in her chest. Fear and anticipation tangled together, weaving a tension that was impossible to ignore. Every nerve was alive, every sense heightened. She felt Ethan's strength, his heartbeat against hers, the undeniable pull of their bond. And then, from deep within the forest, a single haunting howl echoed, ominous, deliberate, and filled with promise. Cassandra shivered. The game had begun. Shadows shifted in the corners of her vision, secrets whispered through the leaves, and Cassandra realized that she could no longer run from what she was, or from the fate that awaited her. Ethan's hand found hers again, firm and unyielding. "Together," he murmured. "Whatever comes, we face it together." Cassandra nodded, heart hammering, wolf alert, senses stretched taut. The forest seemed to pulse around them, alive with unseen eyes, whispered threats, and ancient power. Every step forward was a step into the unknown, but one she knew she would not take alone. Chapter 15. Web of Secrets. The forest was thick with the scent of wet earth and moss, the lingering mist curling around the trunks of ancient trees like silent sentinels. Cassandra moved cautiously, her senses stretching, wolf and human intertwined in perfect alertness. Every rustle, every distant snap of a twig set her heart racing, yet a strange exhilaration coursed through her veins. Danger was close, but so was the promise of discovery. Ethan's presence at her side was a constant anchor. His hand brushed hers occasionally, grounding her, reminding her that no matter the shadows around them, they were not alone. He moved with quiet precision, each step calculated, each gesture protective. Cassandra had come to rely on that quiet, unwavering strength, even as the pull between them deepened, electric and undeniable. "We need to be careful," Ethan murmured, his voice low, almost a growl. "They've set traps in this territory, old magic, wards, and illusions. They're testing us, seeing how far we'll go." Cassandra's pulse quickened. "Traps? What kind of traps?" she whispered. Her wolf stirred, restless, tasting danger in the air. Ethan glanced at her, eyes narrowing. "Some are physical, some are mental. This isn't just about survival, it's about understanding your power, your bond, and how it can be manipulated." Her stomach twisted, manipulated. The thought made a shiver race down her spine. She clenched her fists, nails digging into her palms. "They want to control me." "No," Ethan corrected, tightening his grip on her hand. "They want control over what you can unlock, what your bond can create you, Cassandra, are more than a mate. You're the key to things that have been hidden for centuries." Cassandra's breath caught. Memories fragmented, dreamlike, haunting flickered through her mind. Whispers she had long buried, visions she didn't understand, and the pull of her wolf rising inside her. The threads of her power were alive, thrumming with anticipation. As they moved deeper into the forest, a sudden shimmer in the air stopped them. It was faint, a distortion in the mist, but unmistakable. Ethan crouched, signaling for Cassandra to do the same. The hairs on her arms stood on end. Something, or someone was ahead, watching, waiting. From the shadows stepped a figure draped in dark robes, face obscured by a hood. Yet the presence was undeniable, power radiating like heat from a fire. Cassandra's wolf growled low, a deep vibration echoing in her chest. "You've come far," the figure said, voice smooth and cold, slipping into Cassandra's mind like tendrils. "But the threads you carry are fragile, misused. They will unravel everything. Do you even understand what you are?" Cassandra's jaw tightened. "I understand enough to know you won't control me," she spat, though her pulse betrayed a flicker of fear. Ethan stepped forward, body coiled, ready to strike. "Back away," he commanded, voice sharp, carrying the weight of authority and promise. "You touch her, you answer to me." The figure tilted their head, studying them with an almost predatory curiosity. So protective, so bound. "But bonds are fragile, Alpha. Even the strongest can break under the right pressure." And she, the figure's gaze flicked to Cassandra. "She is not yet ready for what awaits." Cassandra's chest constricted, not ready. The warning felt like a knife pressing against her ribs, but it also ignited something within her, anger, determination, and a spark of curiosity. What power did she carry that could threaten even them? Ethan's hand found hers, thumb brushing in a small grounding circle. "Whatever comes, we face it together," he said again, steadying her. The figure's lips curled into a thin, knowing smile. "Together, yes, for now. But knowledge is the first weapon. Discover your threads, your bond, before others do, or risk losing everything you hold dear." And with that, they vanished into the mist, leaving only the chill of their presence and the echo of their words. Cassandra's wolf growled, senses ablaze, while fear and anticipation tangled in her chest. What did they mean?" she whispered. "Threads, bond, losing everything?" Ethan's eyes were intense, burning with focus. "It's what I feared. Your bond isn't just a connection. It's ancient, powerful, and dangerous if wielded wrong. We have to uncover its secrets before anyone else does. And Cassandra, the longer we wait, the harder it will get." Cassandra's stomach knotted, but beneath the fear, a fire ignited. Her wolf pressed against her instincts to run, to hide. But she refused. She would face the shadows, unravel the threads, and learn the depth of her power. The forest whispered around them, alive with hidden eyes, unseen movement, and secrets, waiting to be unearthed. Cassandra inhaled deeply, letting the chill fill her lungs, her wolf growling low in anticipation. The game had only begun, and the threads of fate were tightening. Chapter 16. The Hidden Sanctuary. The forest had grown denser, the canopy above blocking much of the moonlight, leaving only fragmented slivers to illuminate their path. Cassandra moved with care, every sense stretched taut, wolf and human coexisting in a delicate balance of anticipation and caution. The encounter with the mysterious figure lingered in her mind, every word repeating like an echo she couldn't shake. Threads, bond, losing everything. Ethan's presence beside her was both grounding and electrifying. His hand brushed against hers more than once, the warmth sending a ripple through her chest that neither fear nor caution could suppress. She caught his gaze once, and the intensity of it made her knees go weak. There was so much unspoken between them, a tension that pulsed as strongly as the power she could feel coiling inside her. Ahead, the forest opened into a small glade, bathed in silvery moonlight. Ancient stone structures, partially reclaimed by vines and moss, stood scattered around, remnants of an old world. Ethan stopped, his wolf instincts raising hackles. "This is it," he murmured, voice low and reverent. "The hidden sanctuary. Few know of its existence. It's tied to your lineage, Cassandra, to your power, and perhaps to the bond that connects us." Cassandra's eyes widened, her pulse quickened at the thought. She had felt this sanctuary in dreams, visions that had been vague, hazy, almost forgotten fragments of memory. Now, standing here, it felt real, solid, and ancient. A shiver ran down her spine, equal parts awe and trepidation. I don't understand," she whispered, taking cautious steps forward. Each stone she touched thrummed faintly under her fingers, as if acknowledging her presence. The air was thick with energy, alive with whispers that tickled the edges of her consciousness. Ethan reached for her hand, lacing their fingers together. "You will soon, but we must proceed carefully. There are protections here, ancient wards, designed to keep intruders away, and those who would seek to misuse your power, they will sense it too." A rustling sound echoed through the glade. Cassandra froze, senses flaring, ears twitching. From the shadows emerged a figure small, robed, but moving with predatory grace. Cassandra's wolf growled low in her chest, teeth bared, instincts screaming threat. "Do not fear," Ethan said, tightening his grip. His other hand brushed against the hilt of his dagger, prepared but restrained. "We're here for knowledge, not conflict." The figure stopped, hood falling back to reveal sharp features, eyes glinting with intelligence and mischief. "Cassandra Keller," the figure said, voice melodic yet edged with warning. "You've come far, but the sanctuary tests those who enter. Knowledge is not given freely, you must earn it." Cassandra swallowed hard, her throat dry. "Earn it? How?" "Through understanding your threads, your bond, and the strength within," the figure replied. "Your power is not just yours. It is linked to the past, to the Alpha Line, to the unseen forces that guard or destroy." A thrill ran through her, mingled with anxiety. Ethan's gaze never left her, steady, protective, and demanding. Cassandra felt the weight of expectation, the dangerous allure of the unknown. She drew a deep breath, letting the wolf stir, letting instincts sharpen, letting fear and curiosity merge. "I'm ready," she said finally, voice steady despite the rapid beat of her heart. "Teach me," the figure inclined their head, then stepped forward. "But remember, once you cross this threshold, you cannot retreat. The sanctuary reveals truths, tests strength, and exposes the hidden threads of destiny. Are you prepared to face yourself and what you are capable of?" Cassandra's hand found Ethan's again, squeezing tightly. "I am," she said. "I won't turn back. Whatever comes, I'll face it." The figure's lips curled in a faint, approving smile. "Then enter and let the moonlight guide you." As Cassandra stepped into the heart of the sanctuary, The air around her seemed to hum with power. The stones pulsed beneath her feet, vines twisting subtly, and whispers coiled in her mind. Images flashed, visions of past alphas, echoes of bond ceremonies, glimpses of dangers yet to come. Each step forward was a challenge, a puzzle, a revelation of the layers of herself she had yet to understand. Ethan mirrored her movement, protective yet respectful, his presence steadying the storm within her. The connection between them pulsed, a rhythm in sync with the sanctuary, awakening threads she hadn't fully grasped. A sudden gust of wind swirled through the glade, carrying with it the scent of wildflowers and iron, a strange combination that made Cassandra's wolf growl in awareness. Something, or someone, was approaching. Danger was near, lurking at the edge of their discovery. Cassandra inhaled, letting the air fill her lungs. The forest, the sanctuary, and Ethan at her side were all part of a complex web threads she needed to untangle. Each heartbeat, each step, each breath brought her closer to knowledge, power, and perhaps the answers she had been seeking for so long. The sanctuary awaited her, secrets poised to reveal themselves, and the shadows whispered of trials that would test everything she thought she knew. Her journey into the hidden sanctuary had begun, and with it, the awakening of a force far greater than she had ever imagined. Chapter 17, Shadows of the Past. The sanctuary's heart pulsed with an ancient rhythm, a cadence older than the forest itself. Cassandra's steps echoed softly against the stone, each one stirring whispers that seemed to coil around her senses, brushing her mind with half-formed images. The air was thick with the scent of moss, damp earth, and something metallic that hinted at battles long past. Her wolf growled softly, a warning she didn't fully understand yet, but one she trusted instinctively. Ethan stayed close, his presence a steadying anchor. His eyes scanned the shadows, alert to every movement, every rustle of leaf or twist of vine. Cassandra could feel the tension in him, restrained yet palpable, a mirror to her own nervous anticipation. The robed figure who had greeted them earlier stepped forward, hand extended toward a tall stone arch entwined with luminescent vines. "Here lies the first test," they intoned, voice reverberating softly in the stillness. "To understand your threads, you must first confront the shadows of your past." Cassandra's pulse quickened, shadows of her past memories she had buried deep resurfaced unbidden, the nights spent hiding in fear, the moments of shame and anger, and the hollow ache of loss she had never allowed herself to name. Her wolf stiffened, sensing the weight of the test. Ethan's hand found hers again, squeezing reassuringly. "You don't have to face them alone," he whispered. His proximity was comforting, yet it also made her pulse quicken in ways she didn't fully understand. Desire and fear collided inside her, mixing into a potent tension that sharpened her senses. Stepping under the arch, Cassandra felt a strange vibration in the ground, as though the stones themselves were acknowledging her presence. The shadows deepened, thickening around them, and the air grew colder, carrying the faint echo of voices long silenced. Then the first figure emerged from the darkness, a younger version of her father, eyes sharp, hands raised in accusation. Cassandra recoiled, her wolf snarling in protective reflex. "No," she whispered, heart hammering. "Not now." The vision advanced, and memories assaulted her in waves. Each one, a moment of fear, betrayal, or sorrow, was magnified, forcing her to relive the emotions she had struggled to suppress. Tears pricked at the corners of her eyes, and she felt a choke in her throat, but Ethan's hand never left hers, grounding her, reminding her she was not alone. "You must face them," the figure intoned. "Only by embracing the pain and understanding its purpose can your power be fully awakened." Cassandra closed her eyes, letting herself sink into the memories instead of fighting them. Each moment of fear and heartbreak became a stepping stone, each pang of loss a thread she could weave into strength. She felt her wolf stir, not in panic, but in recognition, aligning with the core of her being in a harmony she had never experienced. Ethan's voice broke through the haze. Cassandra, focus on us, on now, not them. Opening her eyes, she met his gaze, and in that instant the shadows wavered, dissolving slightly under the intensity of their connection. The figure of her father halted, his form flickering like smoke. Cassandra felt the sting of anger, but it was tempered now by clarity. She understood the lesson: the past shaped her, yes, but it did not define her. A second figure emerged, a wolf, massive and dark, eyes glowing with an almost malevolent intelligence. It was an echo of a threat she had faced years ago, a harbinger of the danger she had narrowly escaped. Her wolf growled, hackles raised, and Cassandra's own instincts surged. "This is your fear made flesh," the figure said, voice blending with the rustle of the sanctuary. "You cannot ignore it. You must confront it fully to claim your power." Ethan shifted, placing himself slightly in front of her. "Whatever comes, we face it together." The wolf lunged, a blur of shadow and teeth. Cassandra's heart leapt and instinct took over. She met its attack with a primal force she hadn't realized she possessed. Her wolf surged, claws raking through the air, senses heightened, body moving with precision and power. She could feel Ethan at her side, every heartbeat synchronized with hers, a rhythm that amplified her courage and skill. When the shadow wolf finally dissipated, leaving only the faintest echo in the sanctuary's air, Cassandra sank to her knees, breathing hard, body trembling. Ethan knelt beside her, brushing damp hair from her forehead. "You faced it?" he said softly. "You faced it and didn't falter." Cassandra's hands trembled as she realized the depth of what had just occurred. She had confronted fear, anger, and the ghosts of her past and survived. More than that, she had felt the surge of power, a thread weaving through her, linking her past, present, and the bond she shared with Ethan. The robed figure observed quietly, eyes gleaming. "You have passed the first trial, but know this: the shadows you face are only the beginning. The path ahead will challenge your heart, your will, and the bond you share with him. Prepare, for the deeper threads are yet to be revealed." Cassandra drew a deep breath, letting the adrenaline ebb slowly, letting the lessons settle into her bones. Ethan's hand remained clasped around hers, a promise and a tether. She knew the sanctuary had only begun to reveal its secrets, and that the trials ahead would test not only her power, but her courage, her trust, and the bond that tied her soul to his. The moonlight filtering through the ancient trees shimmered over them, a quiet witness to the first step of a journey that would reshape Cassandra Keller forever. Chapter 18. Threads of Destiny. Dawn broke over the sanctuary, spilling muted gold across the moss, covered stones and winding pathways. Cassandra awoke on the cold, uneven floor, muscles sore, but spirit alight with an unfamiliar vigor. The trials of the previous night lingered, a whisper of shadows that had now transformed into something tangible, a power threading through her veins like molten silver. She rose slowly, brushing away the lingering chill, and found Ethan already awake, standing near the archway where the morning light pooled. "You slept well," he said, voice low, carrying a note of amusement that made her stomach flutter. Yet beneath it, she detected the tension that had been there since they entered the sanctuary. "We don't have much time. The threads you've started to unravel. They're only the beginning. I've felt disturbances in the pack ripples that suggest someone is pulling at the threads of fate itself." Cassandra's brow furrowed. "Disturbances? What do you mean?" Ethan stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Someone is trying to manipulate the balance, Cassandra. Not just the pack, but the bonds that connect us all. It's subtle, like whispers carried on the wind, but I feel it. And I suspect it's connected to why the sanctuary revealed itself to you now." Her wolf stirred in agreement, a low growl vibrating deep in her chest. The sense of unease was undeniable, as if unseen eyes were tracing their every movement, calculating, waiting. Cassandra's hand brushed against the pendant Ethan had given her, a small talisman etched with ancient symbols. Its warmth pulsed faintly, resonating with the energy coursing through her, and she realized that her bond with Ethan was more than emotional. It was magical, tangible, and vital to what was coming. "Show me," she demanded, her voice steadier than she felt. "Show me how to understand these threads." Ethan's eyes softened, but his expression hardened with resolve. "The threads are woven into the very fabric of the pack, its history, and its future. You must learn to see not just the present, but the patterns of connection, who is bound to whom, and what they're willing to sacrifice. It's the first step in mastering your power." He led her to a secluded glade, where sunlight filtered through the leaves in fragmented beams, creating a lattice of light and shadow. "Concentrate," he instructed, gesturing for her to close her eyes. Cassandra obeyed, drawing in the cool morning air, letting it settle in her lungs. Her mind, sharp from the trials, reached outward, not with force, but with awareness. She felt the subtle vibrations, delicate threads shimmering like fine silk, connecting pack members, the sanctuary, and even Ethan himself. A sudden tug pulled at one of the threads, a subtle disturbance, almost imperceptible. Cassandra opened her eyes and followed the sensation, discovering a dark thread hidden beneath the others, fraying at the edges. It led away from the sanctuary, twisting toward the outer borders of their territory. "Someone's interfering," she whispered, voice tight. This is not natural." Ethan's gaze hardened. "Exactly. And that's why you must be ready. Whoever is doing this is cunning, patient, and dangerous. They're testing us, and soon they will strike openly. You must learn to anticipate, to act, and to protect the ones you care about." Her heart clenched at the weight of responsibility, but with it came clarity. The power she had felt during the first trial was not just for personal strength. It was a tool to safeguard the pack, to confront threats that had long been hidden in the shadows. A rustle in the underbrush drew their attention. Cassandra tensed, wolf instincts flaring. Out of the dappled shadows stepped a young she-wolf, eyes wide with fear and urgency. "Alpha, Cassandra," she gasped. "You need to come quickly, the eastern border. There's been an attack." Ethan's jaw tightened, and he exchanged a look with Cassandra. "It begins," he muttered, gripping her hand. Cassandra nodded, feeling a rush of adrenaline and purpose. Her heart hammered, but fear was tempered by resolve. Every lesson, every trial, every shadow she had confronted had led her here. And now she understood that her bond with Ethan was not just a lifeline, it was the key to survival. Together, they ran toward the border, weaving through the forest with silent precision. The threads of destiny stretched before her, intricate and fragile, yet tangible, guiding her toward the unfolding conflict. Cassandra's wolf growled low in her throat, a promise of strength and ferocity, ready to confront whatever darkness awaited. As the forest grew denser and the smell of smoke and blood tinged the air, Cassandra realized that the sanctuary had prepared her not for the shadows she had faced, but for the storms that were coming and for the role she would play in the war for her pack's future. Chapter 19: Secrets Beneath the Moon. The eastern border of the pack's territory stretched before Cassandra like a wild, untamed beast. Trees twisted toward the sky, their gnarled branches interlocking to form jagged silhouettes against the silver moonlight. Smoke curled from the distant tree line, thin tendrils of dark gray rising like the fingers of a phantom. Cassandra's pulse quickened, her wolf alert to every sound: the snap of a branch, the distant scuffle of feet, the metallic tang of blood carried on the breeze. Ethan moved beside her, muscles taut, eyes scanning the perimeter with predator precision. His presence was steadying, a tether to her own rising tension. "Stay close," he murmured, his voice a low growl that resonated in her chest. "We don't know how many there are, or what they want." Cassandra's heart hammered, a mix of fear and exhilaration. This was the first real test of her awakening power, the threads she had begun to see in the sanctuary now stretching into the forest before her. She focused, letting her senses extend outward, feeling the invisible strands of energy pulsing through the land. She detected subtle vibrations, a broken fence post here, a disturbed patch of underbrush there, and realized the attackers had come with precision, not chaos. A sudden movement in the shadows caught her eye. Two figures emerged, moving with practiced stealth, their forms half hidden by the moonlit mist. Cassandra's wolf hissed low in warning, but Ethan's hand on her arm held her steady. "Wait," he whispered. "Let me gauge them first." The figures stopped, and the taller of the two turned, revealing a mask that gleamed faintly in the moonlight. Cassandra's breath caught. The threads she had sensed earlier now flared dark, fraying strands, emanating from the masked figures like poisonous roots creeping through fertile soil. She reached out with her mind, probing their intentions, the energy revealing deceit, malice, and hunger for control. "They're not ordinary intruders," she said, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her. "They're trying to weaken the pack from the inside. They know our strengths and our weaknesses." Ethan's jaw tightened. "Good. Then we'll use that knowledge against them. Stick to me and follow my lead. No mistakes." The taller figure lunged first, moving faster than either Cassandra or Ethan anticipated. Cassandra shifted, wolf instincts taking over, and she sprang into action. Her body moved fluidly, muscles coiling and releasing with a precision she hadn't known she possessed. The intruder's momentum carried him past Ethan, who pivoted, arms outstretched, meeting him with controlled strength. Cassandra's heart pounded as she joined the fray, each movement a dance between fear and exhilaration, control and instinct. She caught the glint of a knife in the moonlight, its edge aiming for Ethan, and without thinking, she leapt, intercepting the strike with her own forearm. Pain seared through her, sharp and immediate, but adrenaline and anger sharpened her reflexes. She spun, sending the attacker crashing into the underbrush. Her wolf growled, a primal, warning sound that echoed through the trees. Ethan was already on his feet, taking down the second intruder with swift, precise strikes. "Cassandra, stay focused," he barked, his eyes locking onto hers. In that instant, a spark of connection ignited. A wordless understanding, a shared heartbeat, a bond strengthened in the crucible of danger. The attackers regrouped, but Cassandra could feel their hesitation. The threads she had begun to master vibrated, guiding her movements, revealing openings, and showing the weaknesses of her foes. She advanced, senses heightened, adrenaline fueling her, until the masked figures finally faltered, their precision replaced by panic. With a final surge, Cassandra and Ethan forced them to retreat, vanishing into the darkness as suddenly as they had appeared. The forest settled into a tense silence, broken only by the ragged breathing of the two wolf mates. Ethan turned to her, eyes softening despite the lingering adrenaline. "You did well," he said, voice husky. "Better than I could have hoped. You're stronger than you realize." Cassandra felt a mix of relief, pride, and a trembling undercurrent of something deeper: desire, connection, and an unspoken promise. Her wolf, still bristling, nudged against Ethan's side, affirming the bond that had only grown stronger in the heat of battle. But even as they caught their breath, Cassandra couldn't shake the feeling that the attack was only the beginning. The threads she had sensed in the sanctuary weren't just warnings. They were part of a larger design, a shadowy hand weaving chaos that would test every ounce of courage, trust, and power she possessed. And in the stillness of the moonlit forest, Cassandra realized that the secrets beneath the moon were far from revealed, and the war for her pack, her destiny, and her heart was only just beginning. Chapter 20: The Alpha's Challenge. The first light of dawn barely touched the horizon, and the forest still clung to the shadows of night, mist curling like silent ghosts through the trees. Cassandra stood at the edge of the pack's clearing, muscles coiled, senses alive. The attack last night had left its mark, not just on her body, but on her mind. Every snapped twig, every distant rustle set her wolf on edge, reminding her that the masked intruders were not random. They had a purpose, and that purpose threatened everything she held dear. Ethan emerged from the tree line, his movements smooth, commanding, his eyes scanning the perimeter before landing on her. "You should be resting," he said, though the tight line of his jaw betrayed the tension he refused to show otherwise. "They might come back, and I don't want to drag you into another fight unprepared." Cassandra shook her head, refusing the comfort of passivity. "I can't hide any more," she said. Her voice was low, steady, even as her heart hammered. "I need to face them. I need to understand why they're here." Ethan's eyes softened for the briefest moment, but the warning in them remained. "Then we do it together, but you follow my lead. One misstep, and—" He left the threat unsaid, but it hung between them, heavy as the morning mist. They moved silently through the underbrush, shadows within shadows, guided by the faint traces of the threads Cassandra had begun to sense in the sanctuary. The air was thick with the scent of earth and pine, but beneath it lingered something darker, a metallic tang, a residue of power and intent, like a warning etched into the land itself. As they approached the old hunting grounds, Cassandra's pulse spiked. The clearing opened up, sunlight slicing through the branches in narrow beams, and there, waiting, were the masked intruders from the night before. But this time, they weren't alone. Figures emerged from the tree line. Wolves, but unlike any she had ever seen. Their eyes glowed with unnatural light, and the energy radiating from them was both intoxicating and terrifying. Ethan's hand found hers, a grounding presence. "Stay close," he murmured, voice low and commanding. "We take them one step at a time." Cassandra nodded, wolf instincts sharpening. She felt the threads ripple beneath her skin, sensing their intentions, feeling their fear and aggression intertwined. This wasn't just an ambush, it was a test, a challenge laid out by someone who understood the intricacies of power control and manipulation. The first intruder lunged, a blur of speed and precision. Cassandra sidestepped, letting her wolf guide her movements, and delivered a strike that sent him sprawling into the underbrush. Another came from the flank, but Ethan intercepted, moving with a lethal grace that made her chest tighten with both awe and something deeper, a connection, a longing she had yet to fully acknowledge. "Cassandra, feel it," Ethan's voice broke through the chaos. "The threads, they're feeding off fear, trying to disrupt our bond. Don't let them." She focused, reaching inward, drawing strength from the bond they shared, from the rhythm of their shared heartbeats. The forest seemed to respond, the shadows bending, the air shimmering with the raw energy she could now control. Her strikes became sharper, faster, her movements a dance of instinct and precision. The intruders faltered, uncertainty creeping into their movements as Cassandra and Ethan moved as one. Every glance, every subtle gesture communicated 1,000 unspoken words, a silent choreography that left their enemies disoriented and vulnerable. Finally, the masked figures retreated, melting back into the shadows from which they came. Cassandra's wolf heaved with exertion, but her heart surged with exhilaration and something more: pride, power, and an awareness that she had just crossed a threshold she could never unlearn. Ethan's gaze held hers, intense and unflinching. "You've grown," he said, his voice low, carrying a weight that went beyond praise. "Stronger than I ever imagined. But strength isn't just about fighting. It's about control, patience, and understanding. And you've taken your first real step." Cassandra swallowed, feeling the tension in her chest release slightly, only to be replaced by a different kind of heat, a charged intimacy that had been simmering beneath every glance, every touch, every shared battle. She wanted to speak, to reach out, but the forest seemed to hold its breath, leaving only the quiet hum of energy that pulsed between them. As they turned to leave, Cassandra glanced back at the tree line, where faint shadows lingered, watching. She knew the challenge was far from over. Whoever had orchestrated these attacks was still out there, waiting, plotting, and she would need every ounce of strength, every flicker of her awakening power, and the bond she shared with Ethan to face the darkness to come. But one truth had become undeniable together. They were unstoppable. And as the morning sun spilled across the forest floor, Cassandra realized that the fight wasn't just for survival. It was for the heart, the bond, and the destiny that had been written in the moonlight long before she had ever opened her eyes. Chapter 21: Shadows of Betrayal. The forest was quieter than usual, the kind of silence that pressed against the ears and made every creak of a branch sound like a warning. Cassandra moved through the dense undergrowth with measured steps, senses stretched to their limit. Each leaf, each whisper of wind, carried meaning. She could feel the remnants of the threads from yesterday's skirmish pulsing faintly in the air, like lingering echoes of a storm that hadn't fully passed. Ethan walked just behind her, his presence both grounding and electrifying. Every so often, she felt the brush of his fingers on hers, a subtle reminder of the bond that tethered them. It was comforting, but also maddening. Because the same bond made her heart pound with unacknowledged desire, a desire she couldn't fully admit even to herself. "They're closer than we think," Ethan murmured, his voice low, resonating through the quiet. His eyes scanned the shadows hawk, like every muscle coiled in anticipation. "And they're not just testing our strength, they're probing for weaknesses. They want us off balance, divided." Cassandra's jaw tightened. "Then we give them nothing. They'll find no opening, not in me, not in us." Her wolf stirred, alert, agile, hungry for confrontation, for control, for survival. The clearing they entered was littered with the remnants of an old pack ritual site, moss-covered stones forming a rough circle. Cassandra's pulse quickened. There was a strange energy here, an almost tangible weight pressing down on her shoulders. She could sense it. The echoes of the past, the power of the rituals performed here long ago, the warnings left in the soil and stone. It was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. A rustle came from the eastern tree line, too synchronized to be random. Cassandra spun, instincts flaring, and saw the first figure step into the clearing, masked, silent, a predator in motion. Then another, then another. Shadows multiplied, converging with deliberate precision. Ethan stepped forward, placing himself slightly ahead, his stance protective. "Stay behind me," he instructed, but Cassandra shook her head, determination burning in her chest. "Number, we face this together. I'm not hiding anymore, not from them, not from myself." Her wolf surged, sensing the intruder's hesitation, their fear mingling with aggression. Cassandra could feel it as sharply as if it were her own heartbeat. She inhaled, centering herself, drawing power from the bond with Ethan, from the moonlight filtering through the canopy, from the earth beneath her feet. The first masked figure lunged. Cassandra sidestepped with fluid grace, catching his wrist midair and twisting, sending him sprawling to the ground. The second came from the opposite direction. Ethan intercepted, their movements a silent, synchronized choreography of power and precision. But then something shifted, a sudden, sharp pulse of energy that wasn't theirs. Cassandra froze for an instant, heart thudding. The intruders faltered, confusion rippling through them, and in that pause, she realized the truth. Someone within the pack had betrayed them. Ethan's eyes narrowed, catching the change in the air. "They're not alone," he hissed. "There's someone else guiding them, someone we know." The revelation hit Cassandra like a cold wave. Her stomach tightened, her thoughts raced. Could it be Marley? One of the council elders? The very people she trusted most? The threads pulsing through her skin grew jagged, chaotic, as if reflecting her inner turmoil. A third figure stepped from the shadows, unmasked, and the recognition sent a shiver down her spine. It was someone she had never suspected, someone whose loyalty had seemed unwavering. "You," she whispered, disbelief and anger fighting for dominance in her chest. The figure's lips curled into a faint, cruel smile. "Did you really think you could rise without challenge, Cassandra? The moonlight may favor you, but the shadows remember everything, and the shadows always get their revenge." Ethan's hand found hers firm and grounding, yet trembling slightly. "No matter what they throw at us, we're stronger together," he said, voice low, resonant. "Don't let them break you. Don't let them break us." Cassandra drew a slow, deep breath, centering herself. Her wolf responded to her command, muscles coiling, senses sharpening. She could feel the bond with Ethan, solid, unyielding, a tether she would cling to. The intruders advanced, and with a shared glance, she and Ethan moved as one strike, evade, counterstrike, the rhythm of their combined power, a silent declaration. Every clash, every step, every heartbeat carried meaning. The intruders were skilled, but Cassandra's newfound awareness, her control over her own power, and the unwavering bond with Ethan made them formidable beyond expectation. Shadows fell around them, but in their center burned a light no darkness could extinguish. As the last figure retreated, disappearing into the thicket, Cassandra felt both relief and unease. The betrayal had been revealed, but it was only the beginning. The forest seemed to whisper warnings, secrets dangling just beyond reach. Ethan lowered his guard slightly, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "We'll find out who did this," he said, eyes dark with determination. "And when we do, they'll wish they'd never crossed us." Cassandra's lips pressed into a determined line, wolf and human in perfect alignment. "Then let them come. We're ready." And for the first time in days, the wind seemed to carry not just threat, but promise. The promise that together they could survive anything, uncover every betrayal, and face the darkness that awaited them. Chapter 22. Secrets Beneath the Moon. The night pressed down on Havermouth like a velvet shroud, heavy with the scent of damp earth and fallen leaves. Cassandra moved silently along the forest path, Ethan close behind, their footsteps muted against the soft moss. Every shadow seemed to twitch with hidden life, every rustle a potential threat. Her mind raced, turning over every interaction, every glance from the council members, searching for the one who had orchestrated the ambush. His eyes scanned the tree line, muscles tensed. "The threads we felt, they're not random. Whoever did this knew exactly how to manipulate us." Cassandra's jaw tightened. It wasn't just skill, it was planning, patience, betrayal woven into the very roots of this pack. She drew a slow breath, letting her wolf awaken fully, heightening her senses. The air was thick with tension, and the hairs on her arms rose involuntarily. They reached a small clearing where the moonlight spilled silver across the ground. Cassandra knelt, tracing her fingers across the moss, reading the subtle impressions left behind. Marks of movement, symbols of old magic, hints that someone had tried to mask their approach. The threads pulsing beneath her skin vibrated sharply, anxious, angry, deliberate. "Somebody wanted to scare us, but why now?" Cassandra whispered, almost to herself. Ethan crouched beside her, placing a steadying hand on her shoulder. "Because we're closer to the truth than they want, and the deeper we dig, the more dangerous it gets." His eyes met hers, unwavering, a silent promise that no matter the threat, they faced it together. A sudden snap of a branch made them both freeze. From the shadows, a figure emerged, hooded, deliberate, slow. Cassandra tensed, but something familiar in the way they moved pricked at the back of her mind. The figure stopped a few feet away, hands raised in mock surrender. "You shouldn't be here," Cassandra said, voice firm, though her heart pounded. "Step into the moonlight now." The figure hesitated, then slowly lowered the hood. Cassandra's breath caught. It was Mara, a trusted medic from the pack. Her expression was unreadable, neutral, yet her eyes held something dangerous knowledge that Cassandra hadn't expected. "Mara?" Cassandra's voice trembled slightly. You're behind this." Mara's lips curved faintly, unsettling. "I'm not behind it, not exactly. But I know who is, and if you want to survive, you need to listen." Ethan stepped slightly forward, protective yet wary. "Speak, now." Mara glanced between them, then finally said, The council is not what it seems. Some of the elders, they're compromised. They're working with outsiders, rogue lichens who want control over the territory. The ambush, it was a warning and a test. They're watching you, Cassandra, because they know your bond with the Alpha King. They want to exploit it. Cassandra's stomach twisted. The threads pulsing beneath her skin flared violently, a warning from her wolf. Every betrayal she had feared now took shape in her mind. And the one who gave us away. Mara's eyes darkened. Closer than you think. Someone who calls themselves loyal. But loyalty is a luxury in times like these. Ethan's jaw clenched. We'll expose them, he said, voice low, dangerous. No matter who it is, we'll root out the traitor before they strike again. Cassandra's pulse quickened, a mixture of fear and resolve surging through her. She could feel the threads connecting her to Ethan, to the pack, to the shadows around them. Every nerve, every muscle, every instinct told her that this was only the beginning. Suddenly, a faint rustle came from the eastern edge of the clearing. Ethan tensed, and Cassandra followed his gaze. A figure darted between the trees, moving with unnatural speed. It was a message, silent, threatening, impossible to ignore. Cassandra inhaled deeply, drawing the night into her lungs, letting her wolf sharpen her senses. They're coming, she whispered, and next time it won't just be a warning. Ethan's hand found hers again, firm, grounding, tethering her to reality amidst the swirling danger. Then we'll be ready, he said. No matter what shadows lie ahead. As the moonlight bathed the forest in silver, Cassandra knew one truth. The pack's secrets ran deeper than she had imagined, and every revelation brought her closer to danger, but also closer to the power she was destined to wield. The night held its breath, waiting for the storm that was about to descend. Chapter 23. The Betrayer's Mask. The forest seemed to close in around Cassandra as she followed the faint trail left by the shadowy figure from the clearing. Every snap of a twig, every whisper of wind through the leaves, felt amplified, echoing in her chest like a drumbeat of warning. Her wolf stirred beneath her skin, alert, restless, sensing danger in ways her human mind couldn't yet comprehend. Ethan stayed close, silent but vigilant. The lines of tension on his face carved deeper by the moonlight. He didn't speak, but Cassandra felt the steady rhythm of his presence, a tether grounding her amidst the chaos of uncertainty. Together, they moved through the thick underbrush, careful not to alert anyone or anything, that they were hunting secrets instead of prey. This way, Cassandra whispered, pointing toward a narrow slope leading down to a small ravine. The tracks were subtle, almost erased by the recent rain, but the threads pulsing beneath her skin flared insistently, urging her forward. The betrayer was near. As they descended, the air grew colder, damp, and charged with anticipation. Shadows clung to the tree trunks, moving almost as if they had a life of their own. Cassandra's heart pounded, a mix of adrenaline and fear, while her mind replayed Mara's words over and over. The council is compromised. They're watching you. Loyalty is a luxury. They reached the edge of a rocky outcrop, where the ground leveled out into a hidden glade. Cassandra's wolf prowled instinctively, senses scanning for threats. And then she saw it, a figure crouched beside a shallow pool, cloaked in darkness. The faint shimmer of moonlight revealing a familiar silhouette. Stop, Ethan commanded softly, his hand gripping her wrist, his eyes narrowing. Cassandra, do you recognize them? Cassandra froze, her breath hitching. The figure lifted their head, and Cassandra's stomach dropped. It was someone she had trusted, someone she had never suspected. Her throat went dry as realization struck. The mask of loyalty had been perfect until now. You? She whispered, voice trembling. Rage and disbelief clashed within her, but her wolf urged caution, every instinct screaming not to act impulsively. The figure smiled, faint and calculating, and stepped into the moonlight. It was Counselor Riven, one of the elders she had respected most. His expression was cold, almost amused, as if he had anticipated her discovery all along. "I see the threads led you here," he said smoothly. "I wondered how long it would take before the little Luna realized she was dancing on strings." Cassandra's hands clenched into fists, nails digging into her palms. "Why, Riven? Why betray your own pack?" Riven's eyes glinted, a predator savoring the fear he instilled. "Loyalty, power, survival. You'll understand soon enough, though I suspect by then it may be too late for you. Or your precious Alpha." Ethan stepped forward, body rigid, teeth gritted. "Stay back. She's not alone. And any move you make, you'll regret." Riven laughed softly, a sound that sent shivers down Cassandra's spine. "Regret, perhaps. But this pack has grown weak, and the old order must fall. You two are just pieces in a much larger game." Cassandra's wolf surged within her, a low growl vibrating in her chest. Every nerve, every sense heightened. She could feel the pulse of the glade, the way the shadows clung to Riven, the subtle shift in the wind hinting at the approach of other unseen eyes. "You won't succeed," she said, her voice steady, despite the storm of emotion inside her. "Whatever you're planning, we'll stop it. We'll protect the pack." Riven's smile widened. "Brave words, but courage alone doesn't save you when the enemy is already inside." Suddenly, a sharp rustle came from the tree line behind him. Ethan's posture stiffened, muscles coiled, ready to strike. Riven's eyes flicked momentarily to the movement, just long enough for Cassandra to act. Drawing on the strength of her wolf, she lunged faster than her human body should allow, knocking Riven off balance. The elder stumbled backward, startled, and for the first time, a hint of fear crossed his features. "You underestimate me," Cassandra growled, voice layered with human authority and lupine power. "I'm not the same Luna you thought you could manipulate." Ethan moved to flank Riven, positioning himself between Cassandra and any counterattack. His presence was a shield, steadying her, allowing her focus to sharpen. Riven recovered quickly, eyes narrowing, and his hands moved in a subtle, ritualistic gesture, magic, old and potent, lacing the air with tension. The pool of water at the center of the glade shimmered unnaturally, reflecting not just the moonlight, but something darker, threatening. "This ends tonight," Ethan said, voice low, dangerous, his eyes blazing. "No more games." Riven's smirk faltered, and for the first time, the elder hesitated. Cassandra could feel it, the moment of opportunity, the chance to shift the tide. Every fiber of her being thrummed with the promise of confrontation, of reclaiming the power and control that had been stolen from the pack. The shadows of the glade seemed to lean closer, waiting. The moon cast a cold silver light, illuminating the battlefield that was about to erupt. And in that breathless silence, Cassandra realized one truth: the betrayal was only the beginning. The war for the pack's soul, and her own, was just starting. Chapter 24, Shadows of Deception. The tension from the glade clung to Cassandra like a second skin as she and Ethan retreated to a safer clearing. The moonlight painted the forest in silvers and blacks, casting long, sinister shadows that shifted with every sway of the trees. Even as the adrenaline faded slightly, Cassandra could feel the prickling unease of unseen eyes watching them. The betrayal of Riven had opened a door, and now something darker lurked beyond it. Ethan's jaw was tight, his hand never leaving the hilt of his dagger. His eyes scanned the tree line with calculated precision, muscles coiled like a predator ready to spring. "He won't act alone," he said, voice low but firm. "Riven has allies. We need to be prepared." Cassandra's wolf surged within her, senses straining, detecting subtle shifts in the air, the faint scuff of movement, the softest crunch of leaves underfoot, even the temperature of the wind changing slightly. She closed her eyes for a moment, letting her wolf guide her. A pulse, a presence, was moving toward them from the east, silent but deliberate. "They're coming," she whispered, barely audible over the pounding of her own heartbeat. Ethan's grip on her arm was sudden but grounding. "Stay close. Don't engage until I give the signal." His voice was authoritative, but beneath it, there was a warning, a promise of protection. Cassandra's wolf bristled at the restraint, craving the confrontation. But she obeyed, forcing her pulse to slow and her focus to sharpen. From the shadows, the first wave emerged, 3 figures, cloaked in darkness, their faces hidden, moving with predatory grace. Their presence carried a weight of unnatural energy, a magic-laced aura that made the hairs on Cassandra's neck stand on end. She could feel the ripples of their intent, malicious and precise. "They're not entirely human," Cassandra muttered, eyes narrowing as she observed the way they moved, almost gliding over the forest floor. "No," Ethan agreed grimly. "They're the remnants of Riven's magical network. He's sent them to weaken us before he strikes again." The lead figure raised a hand, and the ground trembled. Roots and vines jerked violently, twisting toward Cassandra and Ethan like serpents. Her wolf growled deep within her, a primal warning that the danger was immediate. "Move," Ethan shouted, lunging forward to intercept the attack. His dagger sliced through the first vine with ease, but another wrapped around Cassandra's ankle, yanking her backward. She stumbled, her heart racing, adrenaline and fear surging together in a chaotic rhythm. Her wolf responded instantly. She shifted partially, claws extending, fangs bared, letting her instincts guide her movements. With a swipe, she severed the vine and twisted to face the approaching enemy, eyes glowing with feral intensity. "You should have stayed in the shadows, little Luna," the lead figure hissed, voice unnerving, layered with echoes of dark enchantments. "Now you face the consequences of meddling." Cassandra's hands trembled as she summoned every ounce of strength. Her breath came in sharp, controlled bursts, every muscle ready to strike. Ethan's presence at her side grounded her, but she knew the fight was hers to lead. The second figure lunged, attempting to flank them, but Cassandra anticipated the movement, spinning with fluid grace and landing a decisive blow to the attacker's side. He staggered, letting out a pained hiss that echoed through the night. The third figure, silent and deadly, moved faster than human eyes could follow, closing in on Ethan. Cassandra's wolf screamed a warning, a surge of pure instinct. She launched herself at the attacker, tackling him into the underbrush. Leaves and dirt flew into the air, and the figure let out a strangled cry, more surprise than pain, before retreating into the shadows. Ethan caught her as she rose, his hands steadying her. "You're stronger than you realize," he murmured, voice soft but charged with unspoken tension. Cassandra could feel the electricity between them, the bond of trust and raw emotion tightening with every heartbeat. But even as they regained their footing, Cassandra knew the truth. This was only the beginning. Riven's network was vast, his schemes intricate, and the forest seemed to hum with the remnants of his dark magic. Every shadow held a secret, every rustle a potential threat. Her wolf howled, a deep, resonant sound that cut through the forest night, a signal to the unseen forces that the little Luna would not bow. And as the echoes faded, Cassandra realized that survival would demand more than strength. It would require cunning, trust, and a willingness to embrace the power she had always feared within herself. Ethan's hand found hers, gripping tightly. "We'll face this together," he said, eyes locking onto hers with an intensity that made her pulse quicken. Cassandra nodded, feeling the weight of destiny settle over her shoulders. The battle for the pack and for their own survival was far from over, and in the shadows the true enemy watched, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Chapter 25: Secrets in the Blood. The forest had never seemed so alive or so dangerous. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig, felt amplified, echoing through Cassandra's heightened senses. Her pulse throbbed in tandem with the low hum of the forest, an almost sentient rhythm that warned of approaching peril. The attack from Riven's enforcers had left bruises on her body, but the deeper wounds were carved into her mind. the fear that even her strength might not be enough, that the enemy was always one step ahead. Ethan moved beside her, his presence a steadying force. His eyes scanned the tree line, every motion calculated, every breath measured. But unlike the night before, there was a weight behind his gaze, a mixture of determination and concern. He could sense her tension, but he also knew that she was capable of far more than she gave herself credit for. "We need to find it," he said, voice low, almost reverent, as they approached a hidden clearing she hadn't noticed before. The air here was thicker, almost magnetic, tingling against Cassandra's skin. "The relic Riven seeks. It's buried in these grounds. If he gets it, he could bind the entire pack under his control." Cassandra's wolf growled in agreement, ears pricking toward a faint shimmer emanating from beneath the forest floor. Her fingers traced the roots and soil, brushing aside moss and loose earth, until her hand brushed something cold and metallic. Her breath caught. A small rune-etched amulet pulsed faintly, as if alive with its own heartbeat. "This must be it," Cassandra whispered, reverence and fear mixing in her voice. Her wolf twitched beneath her skin, sensing the raw power radiating from the artifact. She could feel the pull, not just magical, but emotional, a tug toward strength, and a warning that it came with a cost. Ethan knelt beside her, eyes darkening as he studied the relic. "Be careful," he murmured, hand hovering over hers. "These runes, they're not just protective, they're binding. If we don't handle it correctly, it could overwhelm you." Cassandra nodded, swallowing the lump in her throat. She closed her eyes, taking a deep, steadying breath. The forest seemed to quiet around her, the wind holding its breath as she reached out again. Her fingers wrapped around the amulet, and immediately a shock of power coursed through her veins, flames of energy dancing along her nerves. Her wolf howled, a surge of raw instinct and recognition. Visions flickered in her mind, Riven's shadowed figure, chanting in a darkened hall, the pack trembling under a magical compulsion. The delicate threads of loyalty and trust fraying under invisible hands. Cassandra staggered back, the relic slipping slightly from her grasp, but Ethan's hand caught hers, grounding her. "You're stronger than you think," he said, voice low but unwavering. "You can control it. Together we can use it against him." Cassandra's fingers tightened around the amulet, drawing the energy inward, forcing it to bend to her will. Her wolf surged forward, merging instinct with intellect, until the relic hummed in harmony with her heartbeat. The forest itself seemed to recognize her as its master, the shadows retreating slightly as she drew power without fear. But even as victory seemed close, a whisper threaded through the trees, soft and serpentine. "You think you can wield me, little Luna?" Riven's voice slithered into her mind, full of venom and promise. "You will fail, and all you love will burn." Cassandra shivered, the weight of the threat pressing against her mind, but she forced herself to stand tall, the amulet glowing between her hands like a beacon. Ethan's fingers intertwined with hers, grounding her, reminding her that they were not alone. "We won't fail," she said, voice steady, eyes blazing. "Not while we fight together." Ethan's lips brushed her temple, a fleeting, protective touch. "Then let's make sure he regrets ever challenging us." From the shadows, movement stirred. Figures of Riven's remaining allies emerged, cautious, calculating, but unwilling to reveal themselves fully. Cassandra's wolf growled, claws flexing, ready to defend their newfound power. The night was far from over, and the battle for control, for survival, and for the very soul of the pack was only beginning. Every heartbeat, every breath, every step forward was a promise. They would uncover all of Riven's secrets, face every shadow, and emerge not just victorious, but stronger than ever. Cassandra's eyes met Ethan's, a silent vow passing between them. Come what may, they would fight, and they would win. Chapter 26. The Final Confrontation. The forest was unnaturally silent, the kind of silence that pressed against Cassandra's chest, making it hard to breathe. Moonlight filtered through the dense canopy, casting fractured patterns across the damp earth. Every sense was heightened, every shadow a possible threat, every rustle of leaves a whisper of danger. Ethan's presence behind her was a solid reassurance, yet it also sparked a fire of conflicting emotions: anger, longing, and something deeper, more primal. He brushed a strand of hair from her face, his touch lingering longer than necessary. "Stay close," he murmured, his voice low, vibrating with restrained power. Ahead, the rogue pack leader, Riven, stepped out from the shadows. His grin was cruel, his eyes glinting with malice. "So, the little healer thinks she can challenge me?" he sneered. "And the Alpha thinks he can protect her?" Cassandra tightened her fists, the fated bond to Ethan pulsing through her veins, heightening her senses, fueling her determination. She could feel her wolf stirring within, coiling like a spring ready to strike. "I won't let you harm anyone else," she said, her voice firm, steady despite the tremor in her chest. Riven laughed, a chilling sound that echoed through the trees. "You? Alone? Your little wolf will be nothing against me." He lunged, and the battle ignited. Cassandra moved with uncanny speed, instincts guiding her every step. Ethan was a shadow beside her, precise, lethal, yet protective, always intercepting Riven's attacks when she faltered. Their synergy, born of bond and trust, was flawless, each movement a dance of power and restraint. Pain flared in her shoulder as Riven's claws grazed her, but it ignited something fiercer within her. She drew on the bond, the energy surging between them, blindingly intense, and unleashed a howl that echoed through the forest, calling forth the strength of her wolf. Riven staggered, unprepared for the combined force of their power. Ethan's hands gripped her waist, anchoring her as they launched a synchronized strike. Cassandra felt the surge, the wolf within merging with the bond, every nerve alive with energy and purpose. Finally, with a final, thunderous strike, Riven collapsed, the night absorbing his malevolent cries. The forest seemed to exhale, the oppressive tension lifting, replaced by an eerie calm. Cassandra sank to her knees, chest heaving, adrenaline still coursing. Ethan knelt beside her, his hands on her shoulders, his eyes searching hers. "You were incredible," he whispered, voice raw with emotion. She looked up at him, their breaths mingling, the bond thrumming between them stronger than ever. For the first time in years, she felt whole, untethered from fear and doubt. "We did it, together," she murmured. Ethan's lips brushed her temple, a tender promise in the quiet aftermath. "And we'll face whatever comes next together." The moon hung high, casting a silver glow over them. Shadows still lingered. Yes, but for the first time, Cassandra realized that darkness could not touch the bond they shared, nor the strength she had found within herself. The forest, the danger, the fear, it was all behind them now. And as she looked into Ethan's eyes, the weight of the past finally lifted. They had survived. And more than that, they had found each other. Chapter 27, Epilogue, A New Dawn. The first light of dawn stretched across the horizon, painting the forest in hues of gold and soft pink. Birds began their tentative morning songs, and the scent of dew-soaked earth filled the air. Cassandra stood at the edge of the clearing, the tension of the previous night fading with each breath. The forest felt alive in a different way now, safe, vibrant, and full of promise. Ethan stepped up beside her, his presence solid and comforting. He draped an arm around her shoulders, and she leaned into him, feeling the steady beat of his heart against her own. "It's finally quiet," he said softly, eyes scanning the horizon where the sun peeked through the trees. "For now," Cassandra smiled, a small, genuine curve of her lips. Her wolf stirred beneath her skin, not with fear or aggression, but with calm, a sense of belonging. For the first time in years, she wasn't just surviving, she was living. "It's more than quiet," she replied. "It feels like freedom." The pack slowly emerged from the shadows, weary but victorious. Friends and allies. Some injured but alive, approached, their expressions a mixture of relief and admiration. Marley waved from a distance, holding a bundle of freshly prepared herbs, her grin lighting up the clearing. Cassandra felt a swell of gratitude and connection. This pack, this bond was her home now. Ethan squeezed her shoulder gently. We've fought battles no one should ever face alone, but we made it through together. His gaze lingered on hers, a mix of pride, desire, and something deeper that spoke to the fated bond they shared. She laughed softly, shaking her head. I never thought I'd survive, let alone stand here like this, strong, but with you, everything seems possible. He cupped her cheek, thumbs brushing over her skin with gentle reverence. You were never alone, Cassandra, not really. You just had to remember the strength you've always had. They stood in silence for a moment, watching the forest wake, feeling the promise of a new day wrap around them. The past, the abandonment, the fear, the darkness, was a shadow that had faded with the night. Ahead, there was only sunlight, possibility, and each other. Cassandra took Ethan's hand in hers, fingers intertwining naturally, the bond pulsing warmly between them. Then let's face it all, whatever comes next together, she said, her voice steady, her heart full. Ethan pressed his forehead to hers, his lips brushing over hers in a soft, unhurried kiss that carried every ounce of longing, relief, and love they had shared through the storms. The forest around them seemed to hum in approval, and for the first time everything was in balance. The sun climbed higher, casting a golden light over the pack. Laughter, conversation, and the quiet rustle of life filled the clearing. Cassandra felt a sense of peace she hadn't known in years. She was no longer the lost, abandoned Luna. She was whole, bonded, and ready to step into a future she had fought to claim. And as they stood there, Cassandra, Ethan, and the pack beside them, she finally understood what it meant to be truly free. Not the absence of struggle, but the presence of love, trust, and the courage to face every shadow with someone who would never let go. The dawn had come, and with it, a new beginning.